Morning to you.
There's a smell of fresh cut grass and it's filling up my senses.
Is there?
That's in that song, yeah.
All right. You listen to the words of these songs?
Just that one, it always sticks in my head.
Yeah, very good. What's the crack today?
None, man, none.
None?
No.
You all set for the weekend?
We're
busy?
working on it still. We're working on it, Lee. It's going to be just unbelievable.
It's going to be brilliant. You're going to be brilliant again. Self-praise, no praise.
No.
No, you're going to be busy. It's going to be busy.
The event, it's to be determined what we do, whether it's good or not. No, we're really looking forward to it. It's exciting. Will you listen?
I will listen.
Yeah.
Well, but you don't dip in and out. That. No, I'm not just saying. No, but you sure it's like you yesterday saying, did I pray for you? No, I didn't pray for you yesterday. I just have
You
to
said
say,
you did pray for me. You said you didn't pray for the listeners.
No, I didn't pray for you. No, forget about that. I just have to tell the truth. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be dipping in and out, of course. You know, you'd be interested. You know.
Okay. You didn't.
You're looking at
me.
me. Greg, I lit a candle and lit candles and prayed for everybody.
Okay, so that includes us. That's all right.
Do you know, there's times I would pray for you and there's times I wouldn't pray for you. Depends on the old day yesterday.
After
you know?
I do meet the priest down again, and they do say I did pray for you, and I'm like, well, what did I do? You know, am I in trouble?
Oh, you've done a lot now. Come on.
Am I in trouble?
We'll not air it on the radio.
Right. Okay. So you're going to come down and do a bit of election analysis for us on Sunday.
You just wouldn't be picking the right person. I'd be having a crack in the corner.
I know, taking selfies and videos.
No, I wouldn't be doing taking the selfies, but no, but a bit of fun. But sure, it'll be very interesting because there's 5 locations you'd be chatting about.
Oh, it's got to be huge. Yeah. All right, Lee, listen, have a great Thursday, all right? Take care of yourself. It is the 9 till noon show, and there's lots coming up. Lots of issues to discuss, and great news, too, to start the show off with. That's all coming up after we get a news update now, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Inland Fisheries Ireland are due in Bridgend this morning to investigate an apparent fish kill in a local stream. Councillor Terry Crossan says after receiving a call last night, he went to the area and saw at least 20 dead young fish and what appeared to be a milky detergent-like substance creating white suds in the water. Councillor Crossan says it's important that this is fully investigated.
This is a significant kill in a very important tributary which goes directly into the Skeg River, which goes then directly into Inchlake. These tributaries are under severe pressure, and you know, any kill of this nature or of this extent could take years for these stocks to regenerate.
Disabilities Minister Anne Rabbitte says the No Barriers Foundation in Donegal is leading the way in developing what will be Ireland's first comprehensive children's neurological service with just over €3 million in funding. It's part of the HSC's Children's Disability Services Grant Fund, which Minister Rabbitte launched at the No Barriers headquarters in Letterkenny last night. The Minister says this will be a game changer for children in Donegal. It's a model she believes will be followed right around the country.
For far too long we've had too many groups working independently of, whereas in actual fact what the family looked at actually, can we have all the specialism together working innovatively? And for the first time ever, we're looking at paediatric neuro, as I would call it, and it was forgotten about in the community neuro strategy, and now we're going delivering it here in Donegal. And to be very fair, it's a really welcome announcement today. It also is showing what good is looking like, and the rest of the country can look to Donegal for an example.
And Greg's going to be speaking to some of the No Barriers leaders on the show in just a few moments' time. Junior doctors in Northern Ireland are on strike again. The 48-hour walkout will last until Saturday morning. With more, here's Tara Griffiths.
They've already staged 2 strikes here.
What do we want?
Pay restoration!
When do we want it?
Now!
And while the dispute mostly centres over pay, they say that has a knock-on effect on conditions.
The work is hard, it's really challenging, and it takes a big toll on you both mentally and physically.
It's difficult to come into your shift and see how poor a quality of care you can deliver to patients.
More and more doctors are choosing to leave, and every time a doctor leaves it puts more pressure on the folks who do stay.
There will be no pickets this time around, but a pay demo will take place at Stormont. The Department of Health says it remains open to discussions.
And weather forecast from Met Air, in a mix of cloud and sunny spells today, along with some scattered showers. Top temperatures 12 to 14 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate westerly breeze. That's Highland Radio News. More on all of today's stories on our website, highlandradio.com. We're back with more at 10 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
E-scooters are the latest to join us on Irish roads. That means some new rules. E-scooters should follow the same rules as bicycles and be treated with the same care. E-scooters are for 16s and over. They cannot carry goods or passengers and are not permitted on footpaths. E-scooters must travel at 20 kilometres per hour or less. These new rules are in place now. For the full set of rules, visit rsa.ie. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 9:04 on this Thursday. It is the 6th of June. How are you all keeping out there across the Northwest and wherever you're listening to us from? You're welcome on board for another 3 hours on the 9 till noon train, and we've got loads to keep you informed and entertained. We're going to have the No Barriers crew in studio very shortly. They had a very positive announcement yesterday from Minister Anne Rabbitte, which she flagged to some extent on the programme yesterday morning. That and so much more besides. If you want to comment on anything, maybe there's an issue in your area or something you believe we should be discussing, please get in touch with us. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. Or if you want to give us a call, that number for you is 07491 25,000. Feel free to comment on our social media wherever you happen to use, or even if you're watching us. And just to remind you, we're streaming live right now on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, and that means you can cast us up onto your smart screen TV or your Fire Stick. You have the YouTube app on both of those, so if you're at home and it suits you, you can whack us on. And also too, by the way, just to remind you that obviously primarily we're a radio station and we're broadcasting right across the region over the weekend. But if it suits you when you're at home at the weekend to watch our coverage from the election centres, and we're going to be in all of them, then of course YouTube is the place to go there. Highland Radio Ireland. We're on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, on the X platform, Highland Radio Donegal, and there's a watch live button too on our website. So that's for today's show, but also for all our election coverage over the weekend. Shall I give you a recap of what we're doing? Obviously, there's a moratorium kicks in at 2:30. It's crazy in 2024. Why is there a broadcast moratorium? And I can go on to Facebook and say whatever I like, or onto X and say whatever I like, or do a live stream on YouTube and talk about elections till I'm blue in the face. But for some reason, still in 2024, there is a moratorium that kicks in at 2:30, I think, today, or 2 o'clock, in and around that time. And that is in place then throughout all of Friday. On Saturday, we're broadcasting live from the Aura in Letterkenny. That's where on Saturday the votes are all taken from all the various polling stations that you'll be visiting on Friday, and they're sorted out. So we'll be broadcasting from early morning there, and we're going to be chatting to all of our teams who'll be covering the various counts around the region, talking about who's running, what seats are available, all that type of stuff. And then we will hopefully be able to, we will be bringing you tallies then as the day progresses. And we have a panel, by the way, between 12 and 3. And whilst we're talking, the Buncrana North and South Inishowen boxes will be opened. We'll start get tallies. We'll start hearing how, I don't know, your favourite party doing. How are Sinn Féin candidates doing? How's the 100% redress crowd doing? How is Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael doing? How are independents doing? We'll start get trends really quite early and bring them to you. That is throughout Saturday, right? So we get nothing on Saturday, but we get some strong indications of how things are going across the various areas. Then on Sunday, our teams spread out to the various count centres. We're in the Finn Valley, Donegal Town, Glenties, Inishowen and Letterkenny. And we will keep you literally up to date, wall to wall, throughout the day, not just on the radio, but you'll be able to watch that too as we go from each count centre. All are equal in my eyes, okay? So the show will be sort of based out of Letterkenny, but we've all the teams and all the resources in every area of the county to give them equal coverage and status because that's the view. So there's no excuse. If you want to know what's happening in elections right across the county and you want to watch it, you want to listen to it, we've got you covered here on Highland Radio, and our teams will also be updating on our socials as well. Some colour stuff, pictures and latest news and information as well. So we have you covered right across the board, and we have a brilliant team in place, and we just really hope that you, if you have even just a passing interest in politics, that you stick with us here on Highland Radio. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning. As the final preparations are put in place for polling day on Friday, there is growing speculation this week that a number of seats may change hands over the weekend. There is substantial increase in the number on the register, with 142,000 plus eligible to vote in Donegal. The tally figures for 2019 indicated the electorate at 132,000. The 267 ballot boxes will be opened in the Oral Leisure Centre, Letterkenny, on Saturday at 9 a.m. for scrutiny, verification and separation of the local and EU ballot papers. That process is likely to continue for the rest of the day, and the first count will begin on Sunday at 9 a.m. And there's lots of analysis and speculation in the Tyrconnell Tribune today. It could be a slow enough process on Saturday too, I wonder, because there is an awful lot of candidates. So that'll be could be a relatively slow process. They've got a great team, though. The council have a great team in place to count out the ballots and what have you. The Donegal News this morning: firefighters are breaking their silence for the first time over the challenges they face when struggling to navigate through traffic congestion in Letterkenny. Implying that the road chaos might lead to a tragedy, firefighter Conor McGuigan told the Donegal News it's all right until it's not all right, and then they'll be asking questions. That's a really interesting quote from firefighter Conor McGuigan. This is in relation to traffic congestion on the 4 lanes and emergency services trying to get to the scene of a fire. It's all right until it's not right, and then they'll be asking questions. In other words, God forbid, I presume, and I'm reading into his language there, if there is a delay and if there is a tragedy, then do we see an investigation? Then do we see a report? So that's what I'm reading from his comments. Mr. McGuigan was recently elected chair of the Donegal Firefighters Association, representing the interests of retained fire service personnel at 15 stations in Donegal. We experience the traffic problems all the time. There wasn't much thought given from an emergency services point of view when the current Letterkenny road system was being designed, according to the top firefighter. A very interesting intervention there from Mr. McGuigan. The Derry News this morning: a Derry father has raised concerns about children and young adults accessing vape oils that could be laced with spice. Spice is a synthetic drug which can be contained in THC or cannabis oil. The concerned father, Sean, has reported that his 16-year-old daughter was hospitalised last week, having taken multiple seizures as a result of inhaling the vapours produced by these oils. Unfortunately, too, we have seen situations in this county. And it is just the one reason of teenagers collapsing, having seizures, having been vaping as well. On to the Irish Times this morning, and some restricted breeds of dog could be banned in Ireland if a group reviewing dog controls recommends the government to do so, a minister has said following the death of a young woman in County Limerick. And this is just the most heartbreaking of stories. Poor Nicole Morey, just 23 years of age. Minister for Rural and Community Development, Heather Humphreys, has asked the stakeholder group to prioritise the issue of restricted breeds following the death of the 23-year-old at her house at Ballyneety in the early hours of yesterday after being mauled by at least one of her own dogs. A armed Garda responded to the house shortly before midnight on Tuesday, and on encountering a number of aggressive dogs, they destroyed one and restrained 3 more. It was suspected that one or all of the dogs were in a restricted dog breeding list that requires them to be muzzled. Locals say the dog at the centre of the attack is understood to be an XL bully. It's a large version of an American pit bull. And an XL bully is not really a breed as such. It's a type of dog. It's multiple breeds interlaced. And that, of course, is bad breeding. And those dogs actually don't have fantastic lives because they have an awful lot of health issues. But we're not obviously later going to be talking about those tragic events specifically, but we are going to be talking about these dangerous dogs more generally. There's over 400 people a year attacked by dogs in Ireland. Many of them, not all, are because of dangerous breeds. What do you think we as a country should be doing? I'm not sure really banning breeds makes any difference. Maybe it makes us feel like we're doing something because we ban an awful lot of stuff. You know, we ban people from driving. They don't surrender their licenses. You know, we ban people from driving without insurance. They still drive without insurance. Is there something more meaningful that we can do you think, than just ban certain breeds? Or maybe you think that is effective. That was when the list was first introduced of restricted dog breeds, maybe that did have an impact. I don't know. But what do you think we can do to best protect people? Let us know, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. What do you think we as a country should be doing, if anything. Let us know what you think, please. Let me see. If you're on a tracker mortgage, could be some good news for you today. The move by the European Central Bank to cut its key lending rate this week could be followed by 2 more reductions before the end of the year. A majority of 82 economists polled by a news agency Reuters have predicted 2 further reductions, one in September and one in December. This is a sharp pullback from 6 expected at the start of the year. Today's reduction, which will see rates falling from a 22-year high, will affect tracker mortgage holders next month. There are 800,000 customers with tracker mortgages in Ireland, which represents around a quarter of the mortgage market. Every cut of 0.25 points will knock off €15 off the monthly repayments. On a typical tracker, most of those on trackers will owe around 100,000 and have around 15 years to pay. So by the end of the year, you could be paying €45 less per month. For those on variable mortgages that aren't trackers, it remains to be seen. The banks can be slow to bring them down. In fairness, a lot of the banks were slow to increase them. So there might not be much room for them to come back down. I don't know, but we shall see. But just in case you are on a tracker mortgage, a little bit of good news for you this morning. The Irish Daily Mail, a blistering row has broken out in the coalition on the eve of the elections, with calls from within the parties to rule out entering government together again, which is a ridiculous request, because we're the electorate, we're not stupid. Do you know, we know what the numbers are. We know that there's going to have to be some sort of a coalition between Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, and Fianna Fáil, and possibly the Greens, and then others. That's just the way it works. No party in a general election is going to have enough without having to get into bed, in inverted commas, with now there was, I think, maybe a couple of years ago, possibly, if Sinn Féin ran the right around amount of candidates and their support was where it was, potentially they could have put together or cobbled together a government with others, but I don't think that's possible politically now at the moment. So for parties to come out and say they won't coalesce with another at this point is silly. I mean, I understand Fine Gael and Sinn Féin, they can pretty much say that, or certainly Fine Gael can, but I think it would be stupid to expect all of them to say they're not going into government with another party, because they're going to have to, effectively, to form a government. But with European and local elections polls tomorrow, long-standing tensions over green policies are emerging once again. Fianna Fáil TD James O'Connor has called on his party to make a pledge that it will not partner with the Greens again. What do you think about that? Maybe that's a vote winner. Maybe, you know, Fianna Fáil have huge support right across the country, whether people like it or not, and people will traditionally vote Fianna Fáil. And maybe if they say that they're not going back in with the Greens, maybe Fianna Fáil farmers might go, right, okay, I'll go back and vote for my party again if I know they're not going to go in with the Greens. That's just one example. I don't know, maybe it will make a difference. The Irish Farmers Journal Revenue has confirmed that farmers can no longer claim the 23% VAT refund for key farm equipment. Automatic scrapers, additional milking units, bulk tanks in existing buildings, automatic calf feeders and small feed bins have been deemed ineligible. On Tuesday, it issued long-awaited updated guidance on eligible and ineligible items for the purpose of a VAT refund. The updated guidelines means that some fixed equipment in farm buildings, which farmers have previously been refunded for, is no longer eligible. The move means an additional cost of 23% on some investments. Wow, big changes there if you were just about to update your equipment or add to it. The Sun this morning, and it's in all the papers, last month was the warmest May on record in Ireland, weather experts have announced. The average temperature topped 13 degrees Celsius, while the highest figure recorded was 24.6, taken at Mount Dillon, County Roscommon, on May 20th. The previous warmest May was in 2008, with an average of 13.03. No, a second, maybe my eyes have gone. Oh, right, okay. But Met Éireann said this time around the average was 13.08. Okay, I get you. It is only the second time in 125 years that the average temperature for May has risen beyond 13. Its climate statement shows that 13 weather stations across the country had the warmest May on record. The highest average temperature was 13.6 at Phoenix Park in Dublin. Met Éireann added that the month was very, very mild, but also quite dull overall, with sunshine values that were below average. There is figures specific for Malin. I might dig them out a little later on. On to the Irish Star now, and jailed teacher Enoch Burke's family has urged Taoiseach Simon Harris to send the guards to their home following an incident in Mayo last weekend. Video captured by the Star last Sunday showed Mr Burke's family, including his father Sean, interrupting 2 different canvasses with the Taoiseach and Fine Gael's candidate Maria Walsh in Castlebar and Westport. And it was just very difficult to watch, just the running around. I presume normally when you're canvassing you don't move at that speed. But the Taoiseach, literally like half a jog and then shoving his head and hand in a car and on to the next thing and what have you. That being said, very difficult to do anything with 3 or 4 people screaming at you. The family attempted to ask them about Enoch Burke, who remains in prison after a dispute following his refusal to purge his contempt. He was fired from Wilson's Hospital School last year over his refusal to refer to a transgender student by a new name and pronouns. That's not actually really why he was suspended, but anyway. Mr Burke's family shared footage they had filmed in Castlebar on Sunday on social media platform X. And finally, very sad news. A talented amateur gardener who won RTE's Super Garden TV show, and many of you may have been watching that, well, he passed away just days after he scooped the top prize. Thousands of visitors to Bloom last weekend saw the garden created by Kildare man John Dooley. He'd been too modest to enter himself and had been put forward for the show by his wife Liz. However, yesterday it was announced he'd passed away suddenly. An online notice on RIP said the death has occurred of John Dooley of Kildare, deeply regretted by his loving wife Liz, brothers, sisters-in-law, brothers-in-law, nieces. Funeral details are expected to be released shortly, but many of you may have watched that or followed that, and I know there's a huge love of garden and natures and those types of shows. So I thought I'd bring that very sad news to you. May you rest in peace, and best wishes to Liz and the rest of the family. I don't know them personally, but it just seems very sad that they probably were just on such a high after his recent success, and then just like that, unfortunately, he is gone. Very sad indeed.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra and Diner, Mountaintop Letterkenny, winner of Best Family Dining at the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards.
Drumhalla House Rathmullen Wedding Open Day this Sunday 12 to 4 p.m. Experience once-in-a-lifetime luxury and beautiful surroundings at Drumhalla House, proud sponsors of today's show.
Friday is polling day in the European and local elections and in the Limerick mayoral election, so make sure you're ready to vote. Polling stations are open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and don't forget your ID. Your vote is your voice, so be a voter on Friday. From An Comisiún Tábháin, Ireland's independent electoral commission.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Discover the ultimate gastropub experience at Sister Sarah's in Letterkenny. Treat yourself to their irresistible menu featuring grill night on Thursdays and Sarah's all-new barbecue Fridays. Plus, enjoy live sports daily, live music on weekends and private function rooms for your special occasions. Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love from Wednesday through to Sunday.
Boost your brain function with Remind supplements this May. Visit Healthwise Pharmacies for the innovative Life Meter test. In just 1 minute, measure your carotenoid levels from a simple fingertip scan. Understanding your diet can help you take charge of your brain health. Remind's blend of carotenoids and omega-3 fatty acids supports normal brain function. Make an appointment today at Ballyrain and Dunlow Healthwise Pharmacies. Take the first step towards a healthier brain with Remind.
As part of National Food Waste Recycling Week, Donegal County Council, in partnership with Bryson Recycling and EnviroGrind Limited, are holding free compost giveaway events. Householders can collect free compost made from food and garden waste. Food waste recycling starter packs will also be available to support the use of food waste recycling bin. Food waste recycling starter packs will also be available to support the use of the food waste recycling bin. The final compost giveaway day takes place today, Thursday, from 10:30am to 12:30pm in Lahey Recycling Centre and 2pm to 4pm at Stranauler Recycling Centre. Householders should bring their own bags or container to collect the compost. Compost available while stocks last.
Now, if you're listening to the programme yesterday, just around about this time, we were speaking to Disabilities Minister Anne Rabbitte. She was talking to us ahead of a visit to Donegal, and she was very pleased to be making a significant announcement from the No Barriers Foundation, and that organisation itself benefited to the tune of 3 million. Just over 3 million. I'll get to the figure in a second. Finn Valley Leisure Centre receives €34,000. Health Hub Professionals NI €302,000 and change. That's a cross-border service. And Spree agus Sport €210,000. And she was quite pleased to be making such an announcement at the No Barriers Foundation. It was funding for Donegal services to support children with disabilities. And I tried to get out of her how much she was announcing for No Barriers Foundation. She says, well, Johnny will have to tell you that. She was talking of Johnny Loughery, who is a physiotherapist and founder and CEO at the No Barriers Foundation. And he is in studio with us now. Good morning, Johnny.
Morning, Greg.
Thank you very much for joining us. And we also have Andrea McFeely, who's clinical lead at No Barriers. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, Greg. Thanks very much for calling in. Johnny, if you don't mind, I would just like to start from the beginning here and talk about the No Barriers Foundation. When was it established? And I know we've done some of this before, right? Yeah. But for some people, they'll be hearing of it for the first time, and they might be quite interested in the services that's offered. So talk to us about the No Barriers Foundation.
Yes, the No Barriers Foundation basically was born out of necessity. So I would have just been seeing locally, I suppose people really needed help and support and services, and just felt that maybe the infrastructure wasn't there. So in 2016, I had set up the No Barriers Foundation as a CLG myself, and I persuaded my mother to come on as a director and co-sign on to the organisation. So we set up initially. Our first kind of goal, I suppose, was to get an exoskeleton for people with different levels of paralysis to be able to walk and rehabilitate while they were wearing the suit. But in the process of doing that, we had, I suppose, created a plan and an idea in around building a whole health facility that was community inclusive and where people were exercising and rehabilitating side by side. So that was kind of the dream at the time. We fundraised, got European leader funding, and in 2018 we got our first robotic suit. And then we've just been really building since then. So now the organisation currently has 26 employees. We deliver physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech and language, psychotherapy, but we do it in a community gym environment for the adult services. And the idea is that people that need the help and support can get the help and support they need from specialist staff, but that they don't feel it's a medical setting. So they're exercising and rehabilitating side by side with other people within the community. So I suppose that was the adult formula initially, and through demand we started, I suppose, providing some paediatric services. We were really, really fortunate to get a really good paediatric specialist on the team here, Andrea, who's sitting beside me here. And we, I suppose, had the dream of replicating what we do for adults, but in a paediatric setting.
And Andrea, can you talk to me about that? If someone comes to your service, what happens, or what's offered to them, or how do they develop?
Okay. Oh, hi, Greg. Well, Greg, we're in the very early stages of looking at building and developing and delivering a service alongside the HSE. And again, we are really grateful to the HSE for this opportunity to work together and look at what are the needs of the families, what are the needs of the children in Donegal right now, especially those who are on waiting lists. So, we're in the very early stages. We're looking forward to sitting down with the HSE from next week onwards.
What do you think it might look like then, I suppose?
Well, we would like to bring together specialists, as Johnny said, from our multidisciplinary teams, you know, so our specialists with expert knowledge in occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech and language therapy. We're very keen to have psychology on board, input from play therapy, and then link in with our specialists in the community setting. As Johnny said, that's at the core of No Barriers, bringing this into a community setting.
Yeah. So is there crossover here between other services or I mean, obviously we're going to try and avoid duplication, but I just want maybe particularly parents of children that may end up being avail of these services to sort of get an indication if it is for them or will be for them.
Yeah, I suppose we only even found out there just
yesterday
about this.
This is all very fresh.
I suppose our application and what No Barriers does is we look at the person in front of us and we build a service around that. And in this situation, it's going to be looking at the child in front of us, but also the family, you know, as well. One of the big strengths about No Barriers is we're very agile as an organisation. So we're not constrained by a lot of red tape. If we feel a service needs to be delivered in a certain way, we do it in the best interest of the person in front of us. So Andrea was saying we'll have all these specialist services, but I suppose we want to build it into an environment and community that really looks after the person in front of us. We know that we put in an application back in November time. I suppose we know it was a very ambitious application, but we, you know, dream big in No Barriers, and what we felt we were putting on paper was something that would make, you know, a real meaningful difference within the community.
Well, and the Minister and those making the decisions believe that too, because they have the faith in the foundation that, you know, what you are doing and what you will be doing can be a template to be rolled out across the country.
Yeah, I mean, we're hugely thankful.
So no pressure.
Yeah, we're hugely thankful to Minister Rabbitte and the HSE for trusting us with this. You know, we do, I suppose, pride ourselves on being innovative, and, you know, as well as the service delivery, you know, we have a very, I suppose, ambitious and proactive and positive team. So what we'll be doing is actively seeking grants and fundraising to make sure that we have world-class equipment in this facility as well.
Yeah.
So we'll have the staff and the team that are looking after the individual in front of us, but we won't stop there. We're going to be looking at getting the best of the best in terms of paediatric equipment into the facility as well. So,
and how will you be funded ongoing?
Well, this currently would be a 3-year agreement with the HSE.
So it'll be reviewed after that then. So okay,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Brilliant. So you have a bit of space to sort of start working on this, which is fantastic. Is recruitment an issue? Like, in other words, finding the right people with the right skill set to fit into the team, is that a challenge? It's always a challenge, or I don't know.
Yeah, like recruitment's always a challenge, even on the adult services side. So, you know, one of the things here is that we're, again, just finding out the news yesterday, but we'll have to build a team, you know, in around this service. Recruitment is an issue, but I suppose whenever you look at what makes people tick and what they want out of life, you know, I think that health professionals generally would be excited about the approach that No Barriers takes. So, as well as kind of getting paid a wage and a salary at the end of the week, I think people want to feel as if what they're doing day to day is making a meaningful difference to people's lives. You know, No Barriers is a very exciting organisation that does things in a different way. So we'd be hoping that people can see that, and we'll get the, you know, we're I suppose going to be pitching to make sure that we get the best people in around this service.
So at the moment, No Barriers primarily works with adults.
Yeah, we do offer
and so it is to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying we do offer some paediatric services, but obviously not to the scale that has just been...
So this is really adapting the winning formula and adding to it or whatever for younger people, Andrea.
Yes, Greg, and really bringing in that strong multidisciplinary team approach, you know, and as Johnny said, you know, combining that with, you know, our formula at No Barriers. Looking at that within the community setting, looking at what's, you know, meaningful to people, what's meaningful to children, and giving them the opportunities to best develop their skills, like, you know, across across all areas between home and preschool and school, and then, you know, integration into different areas across the board.
And I mean, look, you do this all of the time, Johnny, but I'm trying to sort of make sure that I and the listener understands, especially you know, a mum or dad with a child with additional needs or may benefit from this, like what is going to be there, how it might be accessed, you know, how many people you might be able to work with. And I do understand you only got this announcement yesterday, and it's a work in progress. But is it easier for you to sort of paint that picture for us?
There's going to have to be a lot of conversations now, because really, just even yesterday evening, we were just talking to Dale Quinn, the head of Disability Services, and really over the course of the next week, we're going to have to start, you know, arranging meetings and discussing, you know, everything you've just said there. I mean, probably what I feel going forward is that, you know, No Barriers, even currently, we're a social enterprise, we're a registered charity, but what we strive to do is to make sure that a service exists where no service currently exists. So what we'd be looking to do is to be linking in with the HSE, seeing how we can work collaboratively and support the CDNTs.
Okay.
But we would also, in a wider remit, be looking to see if we can deliver services, even if we have to charge for something that we're delivering outside of that CDNT waitlist. We'll be trying to provide services, you know, as cheap as we possibly can. So I suppose our goal is to give children and families in Donegal access to services.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'll have our, I suppose, HSE funded caseload there, but we'll be seeing, you know, how can we support the people that you know, are maybe on the wait list and can't access services but want to be seen sooner. So,
will all of this be Letterkenny based? Obviously, that's where your base is at the moment. But will it? But it would be providing services for young people throughout the county, Andrea. But I mean, obviously, it's a specific model, and it has to be in a specific place, I presume.
Well, Greg, I know that, again, as I say, we're in very initial talks with the HSE.
I feel like we're kind of thrashing it out at the moment.
Yeah,
this is the nature of it. It's actually quite exciting, isn't it, that we're getting access to these early on, and I think the listeners understand that.
Yeah.
So,
well, we do know that CDNT services are, you know, across Donegal. So, again, when we sit down to talk with the HSE next week, we'll be very keen to, you know, to the best of our ability and what's within our capacity to support all CDNT teams across Donegal. Yeah. But again, we're in the very initial stages of that discussion.
Yeah.
Our location, at this point in time, we will be looking for, you know, a building that's suitable to a paediatric service. So again, you know, we're just looking, we're opening the page of chapter 1 right now, and we're going to see, you know, what can we find that's the best that can lead
we can have full faith in what you can do because of what you've achieved at you know, particularly for adults in the No Barriers Foundation. So so just one final question in that, do you see a situation maybe where the CDNT teams might refer people to this service once it's established, or maybe people might come to this service off the list without seeing a CDNT specialist, if you know what I mean, or is that still all to be worked out?
Well, as you say, it's all to be worked out. And again, you know, we're really keen to sit down with Adele. It was brilliant having her on site yesterday, but we didn't get into the nitty-gritty.
But you know, I think that's really great, because you are going to be able to sort of liaise with all the various experts in it. And use of the experts in what you do, and then bring it all together to match services to needs and stuff. So I think it's actually an exciting time at the beginning. It means not every question can be answered, but that's a good thing, because we've an opportunity now to just get something as good as is possible. And as the Minister pointed to, that she has the faith in seeing this as being a model that could be, you know, employed elsewhere. A complete shock then, Johnny, was it? You got no indication that...
Yeah, no, we were over the moon. As I say, we had submitted an application last November time, and we were waiting and thinking, you know, maybe, you know, we hadn't heard back, obviously, but no, we were absolutely over the moon to get the news. And I suppose for us, it's a hugely exciting time, because we can, you know, there's 3.1 million that's going to kids and families in Donegal, and that's, I suppose, what we're so excited about is that We know that families out there, need help and are struggling a wee bit, and we have a really exciting opportunity here to try and make a difference and help people in the community.
Yeah.
We know that it has been very stressful for families and accessing services. So, again, we can see that the HSE are really trying to, support that. And by, bringing us on board to partner with them, we're really excited about that. But again, we will be putting the children and the families of Donegal at the centre of this.
Yeah.
Going forward.
I think that's why I've kind of been on eggshells asking the questions, because I want to sort of, give hope where hope's there, but not raise expectations where it's not. But we're in such an early part of it, really. Yes. That's where we're at. Exciting. I'm looking forward to hopefully speaking to you along the journey, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, well, we'd be delighted to come on any time. Yeah.
All right. Anything that you want to add before we wrap up? Bottom line is it's a fantastic announcement, as you mentioned, 3.1 million. And off the back of that, children from across our county are going to benefit from services being developed by the No Barriers Foundation. And this is under the HSE's Children's Disability Grant Fund. So, as I say, exciting times ahead.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much indeed. And part of the Minister's announcement as well, as I mentioned, was the Finn Valley Leisure Centre receiving €34,000. This is to offer swimming lessons specifically designed for people with Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy and spina bifida. Health Hub Professionals Northern Ireland was allocated $302,000 to provide physiotherapy, speech and language therapy and occupational hand therapy with splinting services for children with disabilities living in Donegal. Spriaga Sport secured $210,000, and that's to develop a more extensive and comprehensive package of play, music, art therapy services for children and young people with disabilities in Inishowen. Right, okay. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 to noon show with Drumhala House Rathmullen, home to the most idyllic wedding setting with picture-perfect views. Wedding open day this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m.
You might be surprised by the working family payment. For many working parents, covering the everyday costs of family life can be a stretch. But there's some good news. The working family payment is money the government pays to working parents, depending on their level of income and how many children they have. To find out if you qualify, visit gov.ie/WFP. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
I'm making a move! Looking for real choice? Leave diesel behind and make the move to Toyota Hybrid Electric at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. World-leading hybrid electric technology, lower emissions driving, with the widest choice of hybrid electric models from Ireland's best-selling car brand. With flexible payment options available, make the move today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world.
Don't miss the 22nd annual Vintage Show this Sunday at the Carrickfield Moville. All the usual attractions, cars, tractors and steam engines, plus a craft tent, trade stands and the hilarious potching makers. Backed by popular demand, there's wacky lawnmower racing, lots to see and do with a threshing demo, fun fair, cash prize, competitions and lots more. A fun day out for all the family this Sunday at the Carrickfield Moville.
Dare to create this June 15th with Circus Explored in Donegal, fairy folklore at the Giant's Grave Cabin, puppet making in Monaghan and lots more in your area. Crenn Nanog, the National Day of Free Creativity for Young People.
See creativeireland.gov.ie for more. Supported by RTE.
The Highland Radio Hoolie to Salou is getting closer. Join me, David James, and a host of Ireland's top artists for a week of fun in the sun. Staying for 7 nights in the stunning 4-star Sol Costa Jurado Hotel with non-stop entertainment morning, noon and night. But hurry, we only have a limited number of places available. Don't miss out on the holiday of a lifetime this September. To book, call Country Music Tours on 074 91 19 955. We'll see you in Salou.
Delighted, says a listener, that No Barriers has received this funding from Minister Anne Rabbitte. This is excellent news for children and for the parents. Well done to HSE and all involved. Other comments here. Mr. Enoch Burke was trying to, in effect, stop potential child sexual abuse by grooming and its acceptance by ruling educational elites. That's, I suppose, it's a deep dive into his motivations, but if that's your view, no problem. Enoch went against the woke philosophy of a corrupt judicial system and has been unjustly imprisoned for almost a full year now. Well, he can walk out of that prison right now if he just commits not to go back to that school and stand outside it, and he can be at home with his family before lunchtime. Taoiseach Simon Harris wants to know nothing about Enoch Burke because Simon Harris does not believe in any sense of justice and now should stand down as Taoiseach since he was never directly elected by the Irish people to run the country. We don't directly elect any Taoiseach, but I take your point. Hi, Greg. Maybe with the election coming up, you could, find what... Excuse me. I'll come back to that. If the fire brigade thinks the traffic in Letterkenny is bad now, wait until the Donegal rally starts, as it will take over an hour to get out or into the town. I just, this is a program where I am allowed to sort of express something of an opinion. It's not like you do a news bulletin. It's a current affairs magazine show. I have that latitude. I'm very frustrated and find it quite annoying that well in excess of 10 million, twice as much as was supposed to be spent, was spent on that road. And God forbid it was someone close to me that was coming down Lurgy Brack and it's bumper to bumper into the Polestar roundabout, and every second counts in an emergency. And the fact that there is no plan or provision to allow an emergency vehicle to access Letterkenny up that road, for me, is just mind-blowing. Like, I find it absolutely mind-blowing. But that is what it is. Right, okay. Let's speak now to Stephen Cahill, Chair of the Flag Scheme in Donegal. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Oh, hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you keeping?
All the best, Greg. Working away.
Good stuff.
The usual.
Yep. Just remind people of the Flag Scheme, Stephen.
Well, basically, Flags was a scheme brought in. I think it really initiated on the back of the fact that they stopped inshore fishermen. So the EU came up with a formula that would have to try and accommodate these people in some form or other. And the reason I think that mainly is because you only can get funding from Flags if you're within 7 miles of the sea. So Flags was brought in a number of, basically 15 years ago now, and basically there's 7 flag groups in Ireland. There's one in the north, which is the Donegal, and there's one in the northwest, which is Mayo and Sligo area, and there's 7 in total, and they are funded in different EU programs every 5 years, and on that then the group are made up of community people from various aspects, particularly people from fishing. Also, the state bodies are there. The council are on the board. The leader groups are on the board. Others are on the board. And basically, our board in Donegal is 18 people. And when funding becomes available, we meet and we discuss the applications that come in, and we fund as much as we can. And I particularly like the fact that we're linked in with all the other state or semi-state bodies there, because we also, what I particularly like is where we see somebody having a good idea or something where they can't get funding, and if they apply to us, we will try our best to get them funding. And we've been very successful in the North Flag in funding substantial projects on whether it's just glamping, whether it's a childcare centre, whether it's something to do with inshore fishing boats or even piers. And then we've helped, small piers have been refurbished or redone. And like people say, well, that's council work, but it'll never be done. So like it's great to have a linkage that these things will be done. And we work very hard. And the new programme is not coming into play, unfortunately, until September.
We'll come to that if you don't mind, Stephen, because the reason we invited you on, and thank you as always for accepting the invite, is we got a call about the Flag Scheme being pushed back for the 3rd time this year in allowances being given out. They said it would now be September before community groups and festivals would know if they got anything. This was to be in March to allow planning, then June. Now it's September and the summer season will be over. Groups like us running small events that have included this money will now not have it in time. The fund was announced, yet it's very slow in coming. So this sounds like a project that was approved. They thought it was money might have been available. Now, correct me when I'm wrong, Stephen. They thought it was going to be on stream for the summer, but now it's going to be September. So do you get the point? Do you agree with it? Or
yeah, well, just to clarify, the program, the present program is a 24 to 29 program, 5-year program. There's basically 240 odd million allocated to fishing in Ireland under this program, EMFAF program they call it. And what happens there is that 240 million is distributed among about nine different groups, whether it's inshore fishing, whether it's processing, whether it's surveillance, and there's flags. Now, then these things move very slow. Yeah. We would have liked to have this going at the start of 2024, but of course, the powers that be and the structures that takes their time, and the department and the EU and the government in general have sort of prioritised that the 240, how it's to be distributed. We're going to get 15.6 million for over a 5-year programme, which is about $500,000 a year for us in Donegal. But the thing is, the slowness, it's not going to happen to October, so the reality is we can't do much about it. That's the way the system works. They have allocated funded to prioritise fishing because, of course, it came from initial fishing programs, so they're prioritising other aspects of fishing. We seem to be at the end of the line, and the reality is, look, the program's not in place until October. September, October. So, it wouldn't be practical to consider it for funding this year because it's not there and it's not officially in place. Some of the boards are not even put together and around the country. We're lucky in Donegal. We've a great board, an excellent board, a very, very positive, strong board, and are very pro Donegal. Like, if you look at the last program we had, which was a kind of different program, was under the bar funding, and there was 25 million allocated for I think it's the year 22 or 23, and we were allocated 2.5 million. Now Donegal and our board spent 3.5 million, where the rest of the country spent less than $1 million, and it was quite embarrassing. I was at a conference yesterday of the flags, and they were saying, how did you do it in Donegal? But you know me, Greg, my simple philosophy, if we can get it for Donegal, we get it for Donegal.
Okay.
And why? Because we don't get a lot up here, so we might as well work on it.
And I suppose really that was a bumper year, really, and I suppose shouldn't be used as the bar. Really, one-off, exactly. So really, people, recipients, or those maybe who have been... You can't really count on this money until it's just available and it's being issued, really, isn't it?
That's it, because even, Greg, I'm not even sure the criteria, I'm not certain we could even fund festivals. We don't know, because it's like talking about a grant to Thatcher House that's supposed to come out. If it's not there, until it's in place, you can't actually function it. So sadly, this year, as far as I'm concerned, is out the way it's running, But the money will not be diluted. We will, our money, look, it'll be amalgamating it with next year anyway. But the way I see it, and the way these programs work in the EU, it's a 5-year program. The first year is preparation. They just don't seem to get it together until nearly the second year. So I would have seen this as the way it's going to happen, unfortunately. It doesn't mean nobody more than myself loves to get assisting with festivals if possible, but it's just can't be factored in this year,
and there's no guarantees, okay, and it just means there might be a little bit more available next year, because sort of this year will roll into next year. But it is a 5-year program, but it's not necessarily over 5 years. Okay, Stephen, listen, couldn't be any clearer.
That's the way it is, Greg.
Stephen McCahill, as always, how's everyone in Ardra? All going well?
Oh, it's going fine. Oh, yeah, working away, and we're working away around various festivals, and we had a cup of tea, and it was fantastic. So we'll keep at it.
To yet, actually. I'd love to get down to
that. Oh, you must get to that one. That's it. It's one of the unique ones, because the focus is really not on it's on street music, and we never had more buskers on the street. Young kids, brilliant to see them, and brilliant to see that attitude of going out there and playing music, and that's what it should be, spontaneous, and that's what music's about.
Yep. Okay. Lovely to chat to you as always, Stephen. That's Stephen McGahill there, Chair of the Flag Scheme in Donegal. Just outlining that it's a 5-year programme. Things can move slowly, and really year one will run into year two, because year one is about sort of establishing criteria and all that kind of stuff too. But that means, I suppose, for 2025, hopefully Donegal then will have an even better percentage of those funds that are available.
Fall in love at first sight with the wedding venue of your dreams this Sunday at the Drumhala House Wedding Open Day. Drumhala House Rathmullen, proud sponsors of today's show.
Test drive the award-winning Volvo 242 range, including the fully electric Volvo EX30, Volvo's smallest ever SUV, on Friday the 7th and Saturday the 8th of June at McGinley Motors Volvo, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. Book your test drive by calling McGinley Motors on 074 91 25 666.
Get ready, Letterkenny. Extreme Fun Fair is rolling into town from Saturday, June 8th to Sunday, June 16th. Experience the thrill of Ireland's largest travelling roller coaster, the Batman, and take in breathtaking views on a real Ferris wheel at over 30 metres high. We've got Europe's top rides, including the Freestyle 360, plus family favourites like bumper cars, waltzers, and more. Don't miss out on the fun. Visit Extreme Fun Fair online for discounts and event info. Extreme Fun Fair at Kiltoy Roundabout, Letterkenny from June 8th to 16th.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 325 75.
Knock, knock. Who's there? 130 million euro! That's who! I'm not even joking! The Euro Millions Mega Draw is back on Friday, the 7th of June, with a guaranteed jackpot of 130 million euro! It's gonna be an absolute belter!
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
So today there will be a mix of cloud and sunny spells along with scattered showers, highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees and a light to moderate westerly breeze. More of your comments here. So sorry to hear about John from the Garden programme passing away. He came across as such a lovely down-to-earth person. He and his lovely wife, Liz, were so delighted to get to Bloom. Thanks for giving it a mention, because a lot of people would have knew him from the programme, and that's exactly why I did. Are there any physio services for adults who cannot get to Letterkenny? Any physio in the community for people in the county? Any information in that regard, please pass it on. In relation to the dog question, maybe owners of these dangerous breeds should have to register their dogs to the Garda and pay a much higher licence fee and make sure this is enforced. Enforcement is a problem in this country, though, but yeah, it could be an option. Regarding the weather, it was the warmest May in years. Every night and morning has been cold. I disagree that it was warm. It's an average. I get where you're coming from. That's the weather that we're talking about. You wake up and it's like, ooh, it's chilly. But across the country, 13.08 is a record high average. There are 3 calves in Solomon's Court. If anyone's lost them, okay, this is a specific house there. I'll be just reluctant to read that out on air, but we can pass that on to whoever needs it. Right, okay. Any election questions, by the way, about voting, and not who to vote for, but just have you any uncertainty? Do you want to vote tomorrow but you're not sure? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. We'll try and get answers for you and help as much as possible. And you know, it could be any, and it could be the simplest of questions, because for a lot of people, maybe they've never voted before, or it's something new to them. There's no question that's too in inverted commas silly. So if you do have any questions about voting tomorrow, as I say, get in touch with us. We'll try and get answers, because I am aware, and I've just noted a few coming in here, that people are just a little bit unsure. So if you do have any questions, I'll try my best to get answers for you. But we're going to take a break now for the news and obituary notices. We've got loads more coming up on the 9 till noon show, so we'll be back with you a little later on.
The 9 to noon show with Drumhala House Rathmullen wedding open day this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. with complete wedding setup, including champagne reception, live music and an opportunity to meet the team to discuss your special day.
The best way to start a night out in Letterkenny is at the Woodbury Grill Bar and Restaurant Arena 7. Great food combined with bowling, laser quest or our interactive darts for a great night. The Woodbury Grill Bar and Restaurant Arena 7.
sé de híine lena bhótála sa táchain orpacha, sa táchain áitiúla, agus sa táchain bhéad a limaní. Den cinnte go bhfuil tú réile bhóta a chahabh. Beg na stáisiún bhótála oscailte idir 7 chlog maidin agus 10 chlog slíthe, agus nádin darúd a chruthúnas ahantais. Sé de bhóta dogha, cá bhóta de híine. An Comisiún Táchain, Comisiún Nafsplach Táchain na Héireann.
Find the sunshine at McElhenney's and Ballybuffet. Shop in store and discover thousands of discounted lines with at least 20% off. Purchase any eligible discounted product with the sunshine on it to be in with a chance of winning a holiday worth €1,500 in collaboration with Atlantic Travel Letterkenny. Don't miss out. Visit us in store at McElhenney's Ballybuffet and find your sunshine.
The sun's splitting the stones, so you bang on the barbecue.
2 minutes later.
There's great drying out, so you hang out the washing to save some lecky.
2 minutes later.
There's no controlling the Irish summer, but you can control your energy costs thanks to hourly insights from Prepay Power. Switch now and enjoy our €100 welcome bonus. That will brighten up your day. Prepay Power. Be energy-wise. Available for a limited time only. For T-C's and rates, see prepaypower.ie.
For the best breakfast in town, take a seat at Kelly's Diner, Mountain Top. Try the renowned Early Bird Special or the Full Irish, or go all the way with the ultimate Monster Trucker. There's also healthy options like Kelly's Protein Breakfast or turkey and scrambled eggs. Choose from the full breakfast menu every day at Kelly's award-winning diner at Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
Polestar 2. Get behind the wheel and experience electric performance at Polestar Dublin. Polestar 2. Available to order now for 242 delivery with prices starting from €42,995. Polestar 2. The way electric cars should be. Book your test drive today at polestar.com.
Live on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Inland Fisheries Ireland are due in Bridgend this morning to investigate an apparent fish kill in a local stream. Councillor Terry Crossan says after receiving a call last night, he went to the area and saw at least 20 dead young fish and what appeared to be a milky detergent-like substance creating white suds in the water. Councillor Crossan says it's important that this is fully investigated.
This is a significant kill in a very important tributary which goes directly into the Skeg River, which goes then directly into Inchley. These tributaries are under severe pressure, and any kill of this nature or of this extent could take years for these stocks to regenerate.
The No Barriers Foundation in Donegal says it's looking forward to leading out a comprehensive physiotherapy and neurology service for children in Donegal. Last night, Junior Disabilities Minister Anne Rabbitte confirmed just over €3 million in funding for the project as she launched the €7.6 million Children's Disability Services Grant Fund at No Barriers Letterkenny headquarters. The scheme includes €34,000 for the Finn Valley Centre in Stranraer, €210,000 for Spree August Sport in Carndonagh and €301,000 for Health Hub professionals in Derry to support their cross-border outreach into Donegal. More details on all those projects available on our website, highlandradio.com. Well, the children's service at No Barriers is being run by Andrea McPhilly, who previously worked for the CDNT in the county. She says they'll now sit down with the HSC and others, including families, to design the details of the programme at which children will be in the centre.
We're really looking forward to working closely together with allied health professionals, with professionals in community services and professionals within the fitness industry to bring together new and exciting programmes in conjunction with the HSE. We're really excited about listening and working together with the families in Donegal. Today is about the children of Donegal. It's about the families. It's really about putting them at the centre stage now and working together to create and design and deliver a programme that works for them.
Junior doctors in Northern Ireland are on strike again. The 48-hour action will last until Saturday morning. With more, here's Tara Griffiths.
They've already staged 2 strikes here.
What do we want? Pay restoration! When do we want it? Now!
And while the dispute mostly centres over pay, they say that has a knock-on effect on conditions.
The work is hard, it's really challenging, and it takes a big toll on you both mentally and physically.
It's difficult to come into your shift and see how poor a quality of care you can deliver to patients.
More and more doctors are choosing to leave, and every time a doctor leaves it puts more pressure on the folks who do stay.
There will be no pickets this time around, but a pay demo will take place at Stormont. The Department of Health says it remains open to discussions.
Carers are renewing their call for the abolition of means testing for their weekly allowance payment. It comes as more than 130,000 carers across the country received their one-off annual grant of €1,850 this morning. All of those taking full-time care of an older person or someone with a disability will get that payment regardless of their means or social insurance contributions. Liam O'Sullivan, the CEO of Care Alliance Ireland, believes the next step should be to abolish all means testing for carer supports.
So look, we welcome the once-off annual carers grant that will benefit, I think, upwards of 120,000 family carers. But in the overall scheme of things, it's not enough. We've upwards of 500,000 people providing unpaid care. There's a lot of money in the economy, and we do know that the coffers, are currently in a reasonably good shape.
Police in the north are carrying out searches as part of an investigation into dissident Republicans. The PSNI's Terrorism Investigation Unit are examining locations in the Glenburke Road, Rasharkin and Donini Road areas of County Antrim. It's part of an investigation into the alleged activities of the Real IRA, which also saw searches in North Antrim yesterday. And Ireland's soon-to-be pensioners fear they'll be facing increased costs in their 60s. They believe they'll be entering retirement while they still pay for mortgages, cottage fees and live at home children who don't fly the nest. Pensions expert Mark Riley from Royal London, Ireland says 1 in 2 people believe their 60s will be the costliest decade of their retirement.
Almost half of people in Ireland expect their 60s to be the years that they're going to need the most money in retirement, where 4 in 10 expect that to happen in their 70s.
Weather forecast: a mix of cloud and sunny spells this morning. Some scattered showers. Top temperatures this afternoon 12 to 14 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate westerly breeze. Early tonight, dry with clear spells. Cloud increasing overnight. The odd spot of light rain or drizzle possible in lowest overnight temperatures of 4 to 8. Light to moderate west to southwest winds. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy with patchy rain or drizzle, becoming drier and brighter later in the day. Just some isolated showers. Top temperatures on Friday 14 to 17 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate westerly wind. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, June 6th. The death has taken place of Patricia McLaughlin, 9 Ballycoleman Avenue, Strabane, and formerly of Ulster Cottages, Glebe, Sion Mills, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 a.m. Cremation afterwards in Lakelands Crematorium. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on melmountparish.com. The death has taken place of Margaret O'Hagan, née McGrinder, 46 Main Street, Plumbridge, and formerly Legford Room. Margaret's remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:25 a.m. Going to the Sacred Heart Church, Plumbridge, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 11 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if so desired, to Air Ambulance NI, care of McGuigan Funeral Directors, Omagh. The death has taken place of Charlie Doherty, Carnagore, Carrigart. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning, going to the Church of St John the Baptist for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Charlie Deeney in Inishkill, Rathmullen, reposing at his home. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in St. Catherine's Church, Auchterlin. Burial afterwards in Rathmullen Cemetery. Family time from 11 p.m. tonight. The death has taken place of Nellie Stevens, Crossroads, Slieve Bawn, Mallinhead. Nellie's remains are reposing at her late residence. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 11:40 a.m. going to the Star of the Sea Church, Mallinhead, for Requiem Mass at 12 p.m, followed by burial in Lag Cemetery. Family time please from 11 p.m. tonight. The death has taken place of Desmond Desi McDade, Hollymount, Carndonagh, reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20 a.m, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with burial afterwards in St. Michael's Church Cemetery, Irish, Clonmany. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member or Comiskey Funeral Directors. House private please from 10 p.m. tonight. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on carndonagh.com. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Aldi with summer barbecue sizzlers now only $2.99 each, including specially selected Black Angus reduced fat 6-ounce burgers was $3.79, now only $2.99. Plus specially selected Black Angus Ultimate 6-ounce beef burgers, Butcher Selection quick cooked chicken fillets and Butcher Selection pork belly strips worth $3.49 each, now only $2.99 each. All Board B quality assured. Go all Aldi while stocks last.
Highland Radio will this weekend provide unrivaled coverage of the local and European elections on air and online. On Saturday, our team is live from the Oraletta Centre from 9 a.m. for the segregation of ballot papers. We'll be able to bring you the latest tallies and news from your area throughout the day, with an expert panel on air from 12 noon till 3. And on Sunday, it's wall-to-wall coverage live from all 5 count centres with the latest news as it happens. You will find out first who is in and who is out. For the first time, you'll be able to watch our coverage live from across the county on X, YouTube, Facebook and on highlandradio.com. So that's Highland Radio's local and European election coverage this weekend on air and across our website and social media.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And you're welcome back. We're into the second hour of Thursday's 9 till noon show. How you're keeping? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Why did none of the councillors come around the Burnfoot area to canvass for votes? None of them mentioned special needs and what they can do to help the families. Not going to vote tomorrow, says the listener. Hi, Greg, do you need a voting card to vote? I lost mine. Will my ID work? Yes, it will. So you're on the register. You know where you are due to vote. You do not need your voting card. You will turn up at the polling station and you'll identify yourself. They'll probably look for your ID and they will hand you 2 sheets. One is the EU election, one the local election, and batter away. You do not need your voting card. And to be honest with you, it's a good job that you don't. Hi, do our number 2 and 3 votes affect the election? Yes, indeed, they do. So if you were to... if your number 1 vote, I'm going to make a mess of this, but anyway, so say you vote number 1, so maybe you might want to give someone a chance or go with your regular person, and maybe your number 2 one you want to give someone a chance to go with your regular person. The number 1 votes are counted obviously towards the first preference votes, and then people are eliminated, and then your second vote at that your second preference at that stage comes into play, I believe, or if someone exceeds the quota, then they might have a surplus, and so on and so forth. Do I have to vote for the same party in the European and local elections? No, not at all. You might say that you want to vote for your local Green representative or Labour representative. I want to mention all parties, by the way, in the locals because you think they're a good person. They'll work for your area. And you're not really even endorsing the party as such. Local elections are not the general election, so you can vote for your person.
if you wish. And then you can go, right, well, I'd like an independent in Europe because I think the EU has too much power over us, or whatever it might be, right? That's just another random example. So you can vote whichever way you like in the local elections and vote completely different in the European elections. So we'll see what someone's saying there. They might say, right, if I vote Fianna Fáil in the locals, do I have to vote Fianna Fáil in Europe? As an example again. I'm trying to include all the parties so it seems fair. No, not at all. You go in and do what you want. Right, okay. And you also don't have to go down the list either, by the way. It's completely up to you. But you don't have to go to 1 to 7 on the EU ballot, or you don't have to go down to 1 to 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever it is on your local. If you just want to give someone your number one, that's completely up to you. This is your chance, and you have the right to vote whichever way you wish. What ID do you need to vote? I'll get a proper list of that, but I presume it's all the usuals. All the usual forms of ID that would be accepted. But if you've got a particular one that you wonder, would it be connected like a student card? I can check that. Regarding the voting, do you put in your 1, 2, 3 for local election candidates if you want? Yes, you can. You can go right down the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's completely up to you. For your MEP candidates, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order of preference? Yes, you could say that. You can try and get strategic on it as well, who you might think might get over the line or be eliminated and where that vote might go. You can go just 1 on each, or you can go all the way down. It's whichever. A lot of the votes eventually do come into play. Just back to what ID you need tomorrow. If you don't have your polling card, you best bring ID with you anyway. A passport will do, a driving licence, an employee identity card containing a photograph, a student identity card issued by an educational institution containing a photograph, a travel document containing name and photograph, a bank or savings or credit union book containing address and constituency, so that covers you if you don't have picture ID. Your public services card, also good as well. Over the past few years, government has proven new people are needed in politics, including the opposition. There's not a bright future for our children or grandchildren as it stands. I think, if we get it right, this country could be a real model for every other country to look on. We're small, do you know what I mean? We're the size of Manchester. We're well resourced. If there's wills, there's ways. We should be fit to do it, We're not talking about a population of 128 million here. As I say, we're the size of a big UK city, big British city, and we have big money. And it should be able to be divvied out in such a way that's fair. The people who work hard can earn money, right, and not feel guilty for it. But those that are less well off can also be helped. It shouldn't be beyond us, should it? A caller says it's easier and quicker for a poll clerk to tick a name off the register when a voter has their polling card with them. So that guy shouldn't be advising otherwise, especially if there's a long queue of voters. If that guy is me, we're talking here about people who've lost their polling card or don't have them. I'm not saying don't bother bringing your polling card, bring your driving licence. There are people, and we're trying to answer those queries, who either didn't get a polling card or have lost it, and we're offering them advice. Okay. I have a daughter living in Dublin for 10 years. Her polling card comes to Inishowen. Can she vote in Dublin with her Inishowen polling card? No, she can't do that, I'm afraid. In the referendum, me and my fiancé voted in a different place to another member of the family living with us now. This time it's the same. Their voting card for the other person went to the old address. Can they vote where they voted before, even though voting card, old address? You can really only vote where you are registered to vote. You'll be on a list at your local polling station, or what's deemed to be your local polling station. Re the 4 lanes road, correctly said, Greg, that 4 lanes road upgrade is an unmitigated disaster. What a waste of time, inconvenience and thousands. And exactly like you said, no lane for emergency services, especially an ambulance. But even so, sometimes, your fire service is even equally more time sensitive. And these people, for the fire service, for an example, like they work within a certain distance of, and I think they do amazing work. And I'm delighted that their conditions were improved, rightly so. They work very close to where the fire service is because it's about time. And as soon as that pager goes off, they race down there, obviously responsibly and safely. They're trained to get into their gear and onto that fire unit just as quickly as possible. All of these reasons, because every second counts. And then they've got flashing blue lights because it's so important that they get to where they need to be at a certain time. And then they have to get to where they're going. One thing in all of their training and all of the speed that's not accounted for is a road design that stops them going where they're going. Now, the one thing I'll say about the fire service, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it not more likely that the fire service is going to be outbound from Letterkenny, perhaps than inbound? I think ambulances invariably, I mean, obviously they're going to be outbound, not too big an issue. I think they're going to come inbound on blue lights, perhaps more often than the fire service. Am I right or wrong in that? I'm not sure. But either way, everything, these guys are timed to do things as quickly as possible. The last thing they need is to be sat on a brand new road, with enough space on one side for 4 or 5 cyclists and pedestrians, which is blocked off for access to vehicles, an emergency vehicle. And plus the stress of sitting. Have you been in that situation where you know there's someone in dire straits in the back of an ambulance and you can't get out of the way? You'd want to. You know what they're going through and you can't. It's a terrible situation. Enjoyed recent interview with Minister Anne Rabbitte. She seems to get it and has a good grasp of her brief, Greg. Good rapport with us, which brings out the best in her. Look, I've spoken to Minister Anne Rabbitte in the past, and in fairness, you know, I hope that our interviews and conversations have assisted in her form and opinions, and I have no problem working with someone like Minister Anne Rabbitte, not working with them, if you know what I mean, but, you know, informing them, having good interviews, and then sort of bringing them on when the campaigns locally and maybe the interviews have helped in bringing money into our county. That's what our role is here. It's to try and get more for us, and then also to welcome it when it happens, to give people the credit they deserve. A caller says, if the government is so determined to stop diesel cars, why is diesel 10 cent a litre cheaper than petrol? Would you have wished? It's expensive enough. Right, back with more after the bingo.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 6th of June, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €11,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 23. The jackpot number is number 8. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 81, 88, 7, 54, 64, 87, 24, 12, 61, and finally 20. Phone your claim to 910-4833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. And we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Here's to the good stuff. The dip in the sea, the run after work, the catch up with friends, the come back to ours, the Kerrygold butter that spreads straight from the fridge for hot buttered toast or a build your own sandwich. The chat round the table, the sharing of plates, of news and of tales, and the taste that means everything. Kerrygold spreadable butter, straight from the fridge. Kerrygold, may your table always be full.
On Business Matters this week, my guest is musician Zara Montgomery, who'll be telling me about the one-stop shop wedding and corporate events band Snapshot Live. So join me, Chris Ashmore, for Business Matters after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the Local Enterprise Office team to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Dreaming of an exclusive country house wedding with stunning views? Then pay a visit to the Wedding Open Day at Drumhalla House, Rathmullen, this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. Drumhalla House, sponsors of today's show.
Now, do you mind remember if you were listening yesterday? Actually, you don't need to have listened yesterday because it's the reality that dependent on where you live, your car insurance can be very expensive. It's a key factor in calculating the cost of car insurance. Living in a more deprived, more ethnically diverse location increases your chances of receiving a higher quote, a new survey on the Irish insurance industry has found. This can lead to an extreme situation, for an example, where a 25-year-old in South Dublin gets cheaper cover than a 60-year-old living in what the researchers describe as a poorer location. Now, as I said on the programme yesterday, I did a little, I wouldn't call it research, I checked on this myself, and I checked 3 areas. I think it was Bundoran, Lahey and the Fanad area, and the exact same criteria except the location, and there was an €800 difference between the Fanad area and the Donegal town area. And it was cheaper, by the way. Sorry, that was cheaper. Right, okay. Dr. Adrian Byrne of Cedar and Idero Analytics joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Adrian. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Pleasure to be with you.
Right, okay. So talk us through this survey, sort of how it was conducted, what it looked at.
So this survey was done over a year ago, and it took about a year to complete. It was motivated by 2 studies that had done this similarly in Italy and in the UK. So there was inspiration from drawing from there, and with our technical capabilities, we were able to derive more quotes than both of those studies combined. And also another motivation for us is the EU AI Act, which is coming in. That's AI for artificial intelligence. And this is playing upon the fact that more and more businesses are bringing AI operations into their systems, into their businesses. And in the case of insurance is going to be classified as high risk in the AI Act because it's under the category of access to essential services for citizens in the EU. So we did this study to see if there was any harmful or unwanted bias in the system, and we were basically doing it from the outside looking in.
And you talked about the extent of this study: 40,000 quotes from 10 car insurance companies. I mean, that is pretty comprehensive. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, it's a good pun. And by the way, well done on your own research. I was listening to that. Very good. So even though it's 40,000, I must stress that, and by the way, for anybody that's interested, please go along to the AI Ethics Centre website in Idero Analytics. You can get access to the report and the data set behind this. We're making it available to anybody that's interested so they can verify our findings. But yes, the way we have to do this is when you want to do it in a kind of controlled way, you have to change one thing and keep everything else the same. So, and the more data you can bring in, the more robust the findings. So even though it's 40,000 quotes, there's many things we couldn't look at. So, for example, in our study, everybody is an Irish citizen and everybody has a full Irish driver's license. We did not change that at all. So that's just an example of how we had to control and then change one thing, say, for example, your sex or your name. And then we looked at the differences, and we did stuff along for claims and no claims bonuses as well. But as soon as you start to try and look at different changes, Greg, those numbers balloon. So even though it's 40,000, there's many things we weren't able to do with that amount of data.
Obviously, listen, the journalists have looked at this and they've picked out, I would imagine they've picked out some of their key findings. You know, what else? You mentioned different, if you put in a different sex or a different name, for an example. Anything popping up there that's worth mentioning?
No, just to say that it was kind of like a very quick check to say if we change the name from like an Irish or English-sounding name to a non-Irish, non-English-sounding name, keeping the same criteria in terms of like this is an Irish citizen with a full Irish driver's license, we didn't find any difference.
Right.
And that was kind of like a sense check. Because if that had been different in our study, that would have been very, very controversial and sensational.
Yes.
So that was one thing that was reassuring to find. And the other thing was that according to gender discrimination law now in the EU, we did not find a difference between men and women. But that's bearing in mind that this is for people that were like with like. So the only thing that was different was their gender. Mm-hmm. But for example, they had 0 penalty points, they were the same age, and they lived in the same area.
I spoke to a member of the travelling community off air who was of the view that they would be being discriminated because of their name. Now, it was one person, right? I don't suppose that was ran through the system, was it?
Yes, it was. We did look at some names in that regard, and you can check the report for more details, but we did not find, as we say in the business, a statistically significant finding in that regard.
Okay, so where did you find the biggest difference? And I think we've touched on them, but just I want to hear it from you, Adrian.
Yeah, so just in relation to that last point, Greg, if you're talking to the travelling community, they should bear in mind where they are resident.
Yeah.
Because it's where you are resident, which is the big deal here. So, so the thing is here, Greg, is that we found, and this is reassuring for the car insurance industry, that all of the key drivers of what determine your quote are valid. So that's your age, your driving experience, policy in your own name, no claims bonus, and whether you've made a claim or not, penalty points. They all still matter. What we found that was very interesting was that if you add to that where you live, and then you start to interact where you live with like variations of, say, you have like 6 penalty points instead of 0 penalty points, or you've made a claim in the last 5 years versus not making a claim, we found that those outcomes were not uniformly distributed across the locations, which means that depending on where you live, you were either at an advantage or a disadvantage relative to others.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is within the scope of this survey, but you do wonder what's input to determine the output. Like, for instance, if you're a journalist, your insurance is much more expensive. I don't know why that is. Is it because you travel more? Theoretically, I don't know. But I'd say there's other industries are the same too, hairdressers or whatever it might be. You have to declare your correct type of employment. But I don't think you would have covered that people's type of employment as part of this survey, would you?
Well, actually, Greg, we did because, in order to inform this study, we had to build a database which was adhering to the questions you're asked online when you go to the websites of these insurers. You have to fill out all the fields, and one of those fields is your occupation. So we did have to put in occupation, and we did find some differences there. And we also tried to do kind of a proxy tactic where we picked gender, kind of like jobs that were you'd associate with one gender over another, like a teacher and a nurse versus a logger, fisher, farmer. If you go to the report again, you'll see the details on this. But what we found that stood out is that people that work in retail were being penalised compared to all these other professions. And again, that wasn't uniformly the case across these different locations, okay? So there was that. But the other thing to mention about occupation is in our study, we decided to make everybody social only. So that means that you're using your car for social only, not business commute. So even with that, occupation mattered because retail was being penalised more than the other professions we looked at.
So how does this work, Adrian? Can you conclude how it works that if you are from, a poorer part or more ethnically diverse, how would that throw out those variations, do you think? Is it that the AI has been trained by a human to that end?
So here's the thing, and I'm glad you're bringing back the AI because it's a very important part of the study, is that as we automate more and more of the tasks that we do in business, and insurance is just one example, by the way, this can extend to many other industries. As we do that, we have an opportunity here to make things less biased than they were previously with humans were doing everything, okay? Now, bias has always been with us, but it's just making people aware. We have an opportunity here when we bring AI into the party, so to speak, that are we factoring in these unconscious biases that we have, and how do they actually permeate through to the output side from the input?
Well, to some
and how
extent,
does that affect people's
if an
lives?
insurance company inputs, say, for instance, the outcome of a census, and a census, it can rip the information to determine where places are more ethnically diverse. If there's a premium on that, that's really quite worrying.
Yes, it is. But the thing is that we can get ahead of this, as we're doing with the study we're trying to do, and then basically you can correct for that. It's actually easier to do this with AI than it is with humans. So this is where we have an opportunity, because if you're going to automate any process, you can actually correct for biases in the system. And that's much easier actually to do than like trying to take an individual and say, listen, you need to change your ways, or even how they would spot that. So I actually think there's an opportunity with AI going forward that we'll actually be able to make the world a better place. I know that sounds very utopian, but we have a chance here to make things explicit, whereas previously they were implicit inside people's heads, which was much harder to deal with.
So what do you draw, Adrian, from this? Or are you just a data person, and you've done the work with the team and you've stuck it out there? But have you any conclusions drawn here? Not necessarily about the future and AI's role, but just really, I suppose, the state of play as it is now.
I think the main thing for me, Greg, is to raise awareness, and I say this in all walks of my job life. So, like, people might be afraid is the word they might use in relation to artificial intelligence. What I would respond to that is I want to make people aware Okay, and and in this case, in this study, it's raising awareness both for the insurers but also for the individuals, because we're all inside the European Union, and the European Union is trying to become like the leader in the world of ethical AI, and we're trying to help that be a success, essentially. So I'm trying to raise awareness in the first instance, and in that case, people can then know that have the confidence to ask for more information, for example. And by the way, accompanying this AI Act is an AI liability directive, which means that anybody in the EU that feels they've been discriminated against can take a case against the provider or the insurer in this case. And it's on the burden of proof will be on the insurer if they're using AI to prove that their system is not biased against that individual.
Right. So, but one of the greatest challenges so far with AI, and this has been a real problem for the likes of Google and others, is biases in there. You know, and I hate the phraseology, but, you know, maybe it's too woke, or it's trying to be too politically correct, or all that type of stuff. So if you sort of let it off the reins to some extent, that seems to have been the biggest challenge so far. How can we be sure that those unintentional biases won't be applied to something as simple as car insurance that affects us every day?
Look, it's a great question, Greg. I mean, the thing that's happened in the past is, and this is an idea from like Silicon Valley, is like we move fast and we break things, okay? So it's like, how do we know something doesn't work? Well, we'll just throw it out there and see what happens and see what comes back. But now that the EU has gone forward with this legislation, it's basically calling to attention, hang on a second, we're not just going to run with that model of move fast and break things, okay? So you can still move fast, but like, for example, you will have to have your AI, if it's in a high-risk area like insurance, you will have to have that assessed. There's a conformity assessment that it'll have to undergo, and then it's placed onto the EU marketplace, okay? So we're not just going to allow what's happened before, which is, yeah, we have this great new tech, we're just going to throw it out there, and if people lose their jobs, okay, then we know, okay, something happened, something bad happened, so we'll have to make an adjustment. So the EU is trying to get ahead of that and say, hang on a second here. So I'll give you a very simple example, Greg. So, like, if you train something on white Irish men, right, and you're using AI, and so it's car insurance in this case, right? So the AI becomes very, very good at pricing for white Irish men. If you deviate from that then and say, well, what if we have a non-white Irish, non-white, non-Irish woman? Okay, the AI wasn't trained on that. Okay, so it's highly likely that it might make an erroneous output decision on that. Okay, so it's only as good as what it's trained on. And there's an expression saying that garbage in, garbage out.
But it has to. It has to be drawing from a knowledge base that might make it disadvantage a non-white, non-male person. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's so like, for it to make that different, it has to draw that knowledge from somewhere to not sort of favor that person over a white Irish male, to use your example.
Exactly, Greg. But the point is that what I'm saying is that we would acknowledge and be aware of what it was trained on versus what it wasn't trained on. Okay. So we would know that the level of accuracy was really good for white Irish men and not so good for everybody else. And we could certify that at the time that it was assessed, that the AI was assessed. And we're not doing any of this right now. Okay, we're just flying blind, relying on big tech. And anybody producing algorithms and saying, okay, well, we're not even asking, like, what was this trained on? Okay.
Yeah. And it's great. It's amazing because there's a race on as well, and we need less haste. I think in relation to this, because we don't want it to be a race to the bottom either, do we? On such an important advance, the AI and how it's integrated into our lives, and to some extent it already is. This is one area I think it's huge, right? So we need to get it right. And as I say, and even just now, look at Nvidia, second most valuable company in the United States, really driven, I suppose, off the back of the whole AI boom. It's huge, Adrian, and as I say, we just have to make sure that we don't have a race to the bottom. We have a race to what's beneficial for the planet.
I totally agree, Greg, and I mean, I'm a fan of what the EU is trying to do, and as I say, my endeavour is to try and make what the EU is attempting a success, rather than the naysayers saying, no, you have the US model of like Wild West capitalism, and then of course the arms race, and then with China as well, that has a different model of operation. So I'm working hard to try and make the EU a success. And I'm talking to you here from Belgium, and I'm at a conference at the moment working with Europeans on these very topics. You know, I'm part of a group that's trying to build regulatory sandbox, which is a safe space within the law, so that you can have innovative tech, AI,
how much
without the burden of the regulation.
On there, Adrian? How much lobbying's going over there from big tech? Because we've seen really, you know, much is being. I can't remember the exact name of the legislation, but the oversight, effectively, of social media companies and what have you. It has been incredibly watered down because of the absolute enormous funding and what have you of you know, large technology companies. They're going to want to water this down as much as is possible. Like, we have to make sure, this is why we send people over there, to ensure that we are actually protected and it is not sort of the lobby groups that get their way.
This is true, Greg, and I mean, I'm not a lobbyist, and I don't have the budget for it either, and I'm not here lobbying at all. I'm here at a conference, and just like a low-level person working with other low-level people who are full of talent, and we're trying to do our best in that regard. I mean, like I said, my effort is to try and raise awareness so that, like, the electorate, the individuals, say in Ireland or in Europe, can be more demanding, right? And like we're operating on a shoestring here compared to the big tech. I mean, we as you mentioned in
video. Do you mind me ask, Adrian, who is? Do you have a backer? Like, who funds your work?
Great question. I'm glad you asked that, because they'd probably give it to me if I didn't say it. But yeah, I'm funded by the EU, right? So I have a Marie Curie fellowship, and it's administered by Enterprise Ireland. So I'm in a great position at the moment where I was given a budget to work on AI for 3 years, and I'm supported by CEDAR and UCD and Itero Analytics.
And finally, we're going to make a point about NVIDIA, Adrian, and then I'll let you go, because I know you're busy.
Yeah, no, thanks, Greg. No, the point I want to make is that we're really up against it. Like, you know, in the academic sector and SME sector, we can't compete with big tech and the amount of resource they have for compute and all the rest of it. But I just want to say this, Greg, as a final point. Nobody has a monopoly on trust and trustworthiness. And so the area that I'm working in is about fostering and building trust and enhancing trust within AI. And no matter how big you are, you can't say, oh, you just need to listen to us and you don't need to listen to anybody else. So I use that as like a David versus Goliath thing. It's like, that's my point, is that I'm entitled to stand up and speak and be heard about trust and trustworthiness in relation to AI. And Google or whoever cannot tell me to get off the stage.
Okay, right, okay. Thanks for that, Adrian. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Dr. Adrian Byrne there of CEDAR and Itero Analytics, 086 60 25,000. Voting day on Friday, says a listener, and I don't have a clue who to vote for locally. One called to my door, but I wasn't in. I got the brochure, and sorry I missed your message. The rest, well, they just didn't bother. Who to vote for? I suppose vote for the person that you think that will work hardest for your area. Vote for the person that, you know, at local level, who you think might get things done, who might, you know, and sometimes it can be the simplest things, which are the most important. You know, who will actually take the time to try and get streetlights sorted, or if a pothole's developed, you know, make some representations on that. Who do you think that you could call if you were in a bit of bother, and they could make a representation on your behalf? I suppose that's what it comes down to, and that could be all of them, or it could be 5 of them. I don't know, but that's what you're voting for locally. Like, I know people and talk to people who are voting for certain candidates because and sitting councillors or non-sitting councillors, because they want a councillor in their area, right? And, you know, even if you were to vote for a different party or non-party, you know, if you were in, I can't make an example because it would sound like I'm talking about a particular candidate, which I'm not. But, you know, most people, I think, would prefer to have a councillor in their own area. And I think a lot of people vote that way. And then maybe use 2, 3s and 4s to if it doesn't marry with party affiliation. How come the publication of the investigation into planning in Donegal is not being pushed by any of the candidates in the local election? Well, I don't know, but I've asked 4 housing ministers now for that report. There is problems with it in terms of publishing it, obviously, because it's not out there yet. Hi, Greg. Now that the councillors are on fire, I'd like to bring the attention to the viewing points. Totally neglected. I live in Inishowen, and for the most part, our viewing points are very well maintained. I took a trip around Donegal last week. Very disappointed to see the viewing points above Glencolmkill and Glengesh totally overgrown and paint peeling off the benches. That is not a good look if people are landing in the area. As tourism is our main asset, this is very disappointing. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to listening to the election results at the weekend. Yeah, that is worrying, because first impressions last. And if someone's landing to these beautiful, look what they get to look at and take pictures of. But benches are peeled, the paint's off them, signs overgrown, not good. And you know what? With a strimmer and a tin of paint and a couple of people, it wouldn't take long. To sort that out. The current government shouldn't be allowed to make funding announcements before elections, as they're buying votes. There have been a number of funding announcements in recent days, and it shouldn't be allowed so close to the elections. Right, let me see. Insurance. A caller says, I moved to Letterkenny from Killygordon. Their insurance went up nearly €60. Maybe you should move back to Killygordon. That's a big jump, but not as big as some. Hi, since the councillors elect are all for helping people, especially at election time, can you get one on to get the pothole crater fixed on the roundabout at Glencar in Letterkenny? Right, okay. We'll be back with more after these.
Drumhala House Rathmullen Wedding Open Day this Sunday 12 to 4 p.m. Experience once in a lifetime luxury and beautiful surroundings at Drumhala House, proud sponsors of today's show.
New VAT refund list from Revenue revealed. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out what farm equipment has been ruled in and out as Revenue updates its list of eligible VAT items. See who received the highest cap payment in your county. Beef prices heat up ahead of summer. Why 1 in 5 farmers say they would re-wet their farms. We reveal what farmers with no successors plan to do with their land. Plus, top tips for animal health this summer.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Is cum a cévid táchan atá taobh hirdíal?
No má tá de chéad táchan díreach rót, is sé gach táchan nua, an ceannas táchtaí fós.
Shishin Eilart and Dainlahas. Signora.
Táchan Europacha, seachtú mehev, úsáid de vóta, no dien for an cinne Erdogan.
Skoda's 2 brand new models are going fast. This is Donal, driving off in his new HVO-powered Superb Combi. And the Breen family, getting their plug-in hybrid Kodiaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't get their order in on time. Order your new Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda. Let's explore.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
The Buncrana Golf Club development draw is here, with over €40,000 in prizes up for grabs. The grand prize is a stunning Hyundai i30 N-Line, plus 4 other fantastic prizes worth over €10,000. Tickets are available online at driveathomedraw.ie or from any club member. Don't miss your chance to win big and support Buncrana Golf Club. Get your tickets today.
The 9 to Noon Show with Drumhala House Rathmullen, home to the most idyllic wedding setting with picture-perfect views. Wedding Open Day this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m.
Don't miss the Kerrykill Vintage Rally this Saturday, 8th of June. Enjoy stationary engines, cars and tractors, crafts, live music, children's amusements, a petting zoo with alpacas and a juggling duo. That's the Kerrykill Vintage Rally at the church grounds this Saturday from 12 noon. Proceeds in aid of church funds and local charities.
Don't even think about buying a bed until you've checked out Restex Beds. Famous for their quality, comfort and excellent service, a Restex bed will ensure a perfect sleep. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
It's National Food Waste Recycling Week. We should all try and prevent food waste, but when it's unavoidable, use your brown food waste bin to dispose of all cooked and raw food waste. Be climate positive. Visit mywaste.ie for lots of excellent tips and tricks. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Make Father's Day simply better and celebrate Dad with a feast. Fire up the barbecue for chicken wings, Irish Angus beef burgers and award-winning Irish Angus steaks. Or choose from a delicious range of antipasti favourites. Save 20% on Simply Better wines from around the world. And finish with a selection of Italian-made gelato. Plus, you can save at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop at €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Morning auctioneers, estate agents and valuers are hosting a plant and machinery auction this Saturday 8th at their yard in Drumahole Manor, Cunningham. Intake on Thursday and Friday from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. All items must be in by 8 p.m. on Friday. Auction will start at 11 a.m. sharp on Saturday. Online bidding via Mardi. See Facebook for more details.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhinney's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
So today there'll be a mix of cloud and sunny spells along with scattered showers. Highest temperatures 12 to 14 degrees in a light to moderate westerly breeze. Now Eddie Crawford joins me. Eddie, sorry for holding you there. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, Greg. How are you doing? And thanks for inviting me on this morning.
No problem. We're talking about a special military mass which has been organised for the 28th of June towards the end of this month. It's in St Patrick's Church, Murlog, Lifford. Who's this mass for, Eddie?
Well, the parish itself, the parish of Clonlea, are celebrating 2 anniversaries themselves this year, Greg. One, it's the 50 years since the Clonlea parish became independent. Up until then, it was the Strabane and Lifford parish. Then it became independent in 1874. And it's also 60 years since the consecration of the new church in Murlog. So there, the Father O'Doherty, who's the parish priest there, a dairyman, he wants to celebrate with all the different groups within the parish that have been part of the parish, very much part of the parish, over the years. And I would like to think possibly that the military, having served there in Lifford for 35 years of that would be one of the biggest in his list.
For sure,
so
and that
28th
Battalion too had members in Rock Hill as well as Fenner Camp. So all invited, I presume, all members, former members of the 28th Battalion.
Yeah, absolutely, because we all would have worked together over the years. We would have been operating in and around Letterkenny, and Rock Hill would have been quite often over with us in Lifford, as did Fenner Camp, etc. You know, so it was a difficult time for the military at the time, but we moved into Lifford in February of 1974, and we became very much part of the community then over the years, not just from a security aspect, but we were involved very much in working with the local community, doing charity work and helping people out, and not just us in Lifford, but of course, as you say there, Rock Hill and Lifford too. We were all one big group that worked together.
And it is a big group, isn't it, when you think about it? Because obviously we're talking about soldiers, then there are civilian workers and families then who served in the prior military school post in Lifford as well.
Yeah, this is what the special mass is all about. What we're wanting to get, Greg, is all of the past members who would have served in the 28th Battalion, and especially in the Lifford area over those years. We would like them to come along and also to bring their family with them. Of course, there was a lot of civilian workers and various other workers. These are the people that the Father O'Doherty would like to invite to the occasion itself. And it's going to be a beautiful occasion, because the 28th Battalion themselves will be providing a guard of honour outside the church at 10:30 on the 28th, and they'll be joined with various retired associations of the Irish Army. And of course, the battalion pipe band will be there as well. But if you haven't heard them before, they're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and that's all ahead of the mass. So really, you want to be there at 10 o'clock because there is a parade, as you mentioned, taking place beforehand. For the 28th Infantry Battalion, as well as various Veterans Association. The mass itself starts at 11. And it's going to be quite moving for some, I think, because the deceased, the names of all deceased members of the 28th Infantry Battalion will be read out as part of that service. I think it's a beautiful way to actually mark a person's memory. But as I say, it's going to be a mixture of emotions there, I think, Eddie.
Yeah, but it would also be a very proud moment for the people who have worked with the battalion.
I think I just imagined myself. I think I'm just imagining myself as a son of maybe someone who served in the 28th Infantry Battalion, and to sort of be there and for them to be remembered in such a way. I think that's where that would make me quite, that would bring out emotions in me of happiness and pride.
The first person comes to mind when you mention that. There's a young fellow from Lifford there, God rest him, Philzy Grogan, who died over in South Lebanon during one of his terms with the United Nations over there. And you have people like that, young people like that actually gave up their lives in the interest of peace. But not just peace abroad, but peace at home as well, So it will be emotion, but it will also be a very proud occasion for all the families and the retired soldiers that will be attending it, Greg.
Okay, and that's part of the year-long series of events and what have you to mark the anniversaries that you mentioned. And it is this event, the 28th of June, St. Patrick's Church, Murlog, Lifford, the Mass in honour of the soldiers of the 28th Infantry Battalion who have served in the area over the years. That's including soldiers, civilians, workers and families, and members of the 28th Battalion, and also any members who served in Rockhill and Finnercamp, more than welcome, if they've served over the years, to come along to that Mass. But get there from 10.
Yes, and the invitation also extends out to other military personnel who, in those years, it was called the Western Command, and many soldiers would have come up from Athlone, Galway, Mullingar, Longford, places like that, and also served with the 20th. And the invitation is open to them as well. But it's very important. It's very important that if there's going to be big numbers there in the morning, Greg. So it's very important that we try to establish the numbers, because the 28th Battalion Catering Corps will be providing refreshments after the Mass in the local community centre in Lifford. So we need to have an idea of the numbers are going to it. So if it's okay with you, could I give you the parish office?
Yes.
So the parish office in Murlog in Lifford is... the number is 074 914 2001, and the email address is clonleyparish@derrydiocese.org.
Now we retain that retain that info here, Eddie, because people know our number off by heart. What you're saying is, if you're intending to attend, please give some prior notice so you can get an idea of numbers. Okay.
I need to give the catering corps in Finnercamp a week's notice of the amount of the rough number of people. I'll also leave my own mobile number with you and my email address as well, Greg, if anybody wants to
listen, if anyone contacts us and they want to let you know they're coming, we'll get that to you. Don't worry about that. I wish Eddie all the best with Mass. It'll be beautiful. That comes in from Geraldine in Lifford. Okay. Listen, Eddie,
lovely.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Lovely to talk to you, Eddie. Okay, bye-bye. Eddie Crawford there. Any information you need in relation to that, 08660 25,000. Right. I've got 2 voting cards. One to an address I lived in 10 years ago and was never registered and till this year, and one in my house and none to my own address. Strange enough, it is. Listen, the voting register is a bit of a mess. My son worked in Galway and recently moved to work in Dublin. He now won't be able to vote tomorrow, which seems very unfair. He has a driving licence and a passport. All you would need to prove one's identity. It seems unfair. But I suppose there has to be some rules eventually, but people are going to miss out. Good morning, Greg. The news again that the population on Tory Island will be without a GP or nurse until June 20th. This is the second time for this to happen, if I'm correct. How can the HSE let this happen again? Would it be tolerated if it was happening elsewhere in the country? That comes in from Charlie. Yes, indeed, Charlie. I did get that notification yesterday. Let me see if I have the info here. It was from the HSE. Their statement reads, the helicopter that was scheduled to fly a nurse and GP to Tory Island tomorrow, Thursday the 6th of June, which is today, has now been cancelled due to technical issues. Interim measures are being put in place. The HSE wishes to apologise for any inconvenience caused to patients or clients. The next scheduled flight is due to operate on the Thursday of the 20th of June. Yep, so you're spot on, Charlie, with your assessment of timelines there. A caller says, but if you vote for a party candidate in the local election just because you like him or her but don't like the party, you're continuing to let the party politics stay in power. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and it's not really an opinion I have, but at the end of the day, you know, the local authority is about someone close to you, you would hope, that can get stuff done for you. None of these parties are going to go away. You know, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael may fall off. I'm not sure they're going to fall off much now in the next two elections. Sinn Féin might go up, and then 5 years' time it'll all revert, you know, unless something drastic changes in this country. Ebbs and flows, really. Right, okay, let us take a break, because we do have to go to the news at 11. We want to, in fact.
Fall in love at first sight with the wedding venue of your dreams this Sunday at the Drumhala House Wedding Open Day. Drumhala House Rathmullen, proud sponsors of today's show.
Summer is sizzling, and so is the Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale, which has just been extended for a limited time only. Don't miss out on the sale of the season at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, or shop online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture, luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
An Advanced Healthcare Directive is a document which records your future healthcare decisions, including refusals and consents on treatment, surgery, medicines and resuscitation.
All adults, and particularly those using healthcare services, should make an Advanced Healthcare Directive
and give a copy to those who need to know.
For information on how to make your own Advanced Healthcare Directive, visit safeguardingireland.org. Protect your healthcare wishes from Safeguarding Ireland.
Would €1,000 of paint brighten up your community group or club? It would with Fleetwood. Calling men's sheds, tiny towns, meals on wheels, sports grounds, drama clubs, scouts and cubs. Our Community Colours campaign is giving away up to €1,000 of paint every day in May and June. Entry is free with any purchase, even a paintbrush. See in store at your local Fleetwood paint stockist for details, or visit us on fleetwood.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for that Brooks experience? Try the new range at bmcsports.ie. New Ghost Max, Glycerin 21, or the Adrenaline GTS 23. Step into our safe size experience so we can fit the best trainer for your foot. Let us make your trainer experience the best it can be. Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock on the 9 till Noon Show. Time for a news update. Good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Inland Fisheries Ireland are due in Bridgend this morning to investigate an apparent fish kill in a local stream. Councillor Terry Crossan says after receiving a call last night, he went to the area and saw at least 20 dead young fish and what appeared to be a milky detergent-like substance creating white suds on the water. Councillor Crossan says this stream feeds into the Skeg River, which in turn feeds into Inch Lake, and it's vital that the cause of this is investigated. The No Barriers Foundation in Donegal says it's looking forward to leading out a comprehensive physiotherapy and neurology service for children in Donegal. Last night, Junior Disabilities Minister Anne Rabbitte confirmed just over €3 million in funding for the project as she launched the €7.6 million Children's Disability Services Grant Fund at the No Barriers Letterkenny headquarters. The scheme also includes funding for the Finn Valley Centre in Stranora, Spí Sport in Carndonagh and the Health Hub Professional Service in Derry, which has an outreach service into Donegal. Northern Ireland's junior doctors are on strike for the third time this year as a row over pay restoration continues. The 48-hour action will last until Saturday morning. Patients are being warned to expect widespread disruption. Instead of picket lines outside hospitals this time, there'll be a major demonstration at Stormont. This gets underway within the next hour. Police in Antrim are carrying out searches as part of an investigation into the activities of dissident Republicans. The PSNI's Terrorism Investigation Unit is continuing to examine locations on the Glen Burke Road, Rasharkin and Dunini Road. The investigation into the alleged activities of the IRA also saw searches in North Antrim yesterday. Carers are renewing their call for the abolition of means testing for their weekly allowance payment. It comes as more than 130,000 carers across the country received their one-off annual grant of €1,850 this morning. All of those taking full-time care of older persons or someone with a disability will get that payment regardless of their means or social insurance contributions. Care Alliance Ireland believes the next step should be to abolish all means testing for care supporters. And the Environment Minister is warning of continued weird weather here if climate change isn't tackled correctly. Ireland recorded its warmest ever May. Eamon Ryan says the situation is truly frightening. The government has planned flood relief measures and transport changes to tackle the threat, and Minister Ryan says that has to happen. And we're back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much indeed.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Hi, Adam Harris here from As I Am, Ireland's autism charity. We're asking you to put on your walking shoes and join us for our Forest Ramble for Autism on Sunday 23rd of June at 12 noon at Quilcha sites across Ireland. It's a great day out, enjoying our forest parks while raising funds and showing your support for autistic people and families. Autistic people deserve the same chance, but face barriers others don't. Help us to remove them. Sign up for your local Forest Ramble at asiam.ie.
Highland Radio will this weekend provide unrivaled coverage of the local and European elections on air and online. On Saturday, our team is live from the Ora Leisure Centre from 9 a.m. for the segregation of ballot papers. We'll be able to bring you the latest tallies and news from your area throughout the day with an expert panel on air from 12 noon till 3. And on Sunday, it's wall-to-wall coverage live from all 5 count centres with the latest news as it happens. You will find out first who is in and who is out. For the first time, you'll be able to watch our coverage live from across the county on X, YouTube, Facebook and on highlandradio.com. So that's Highland Radio's local and European election coverage this weekend on air and across our website and social media. Yes, indeed. We're all very excited. I'm actually going to be really interested too on Saturday to see how Donegal votes in the EU elections. You know, how Chris McManus does, I suppose, with 2 DDs in this county, how Niall Blaney does in his own backyard, how the Independents do, how Luke McFlanagan does, how Lisa Chamber does, how the Green Party does, how those candidates who didn't bother to canvass up here do, or didn't even want to take part in our Highland Radio debates. I'll be very interested. It's going to be interesting. So on Saturday, what we'll know from an EU perspective, or we'll get indications, is, you know, how each candidate did up here. Then those votes are taken down to Mayo and counted with the rest. But as I say, you know, it's not going to really determine the outcome of the Midlands Northwest election, but it will be interesting, I think, to see how the various candidates do. Also on Saturday, lots of the candidates will be there. So we'll get to talk to them too over the course of the day, see how things are going. And it'll be fully interactive as well, by the way. So you can text in as well over the course of the day. A caller says some people think they can use X when voting for more than one preference. People get confused and start using X to vote instead of 1, 2, 3. Really good point. You have to put in 1, 2 and 3. And if you're doing 1, I would actually just put in the 1, personally speaking. But yeah, it might be simple. You know, it's funny how we can sort of think quite linearly. in that if you think, right, I'm going 1, 2, 3, XXX, that's a spoiled vote. So really good advice from a listener there. Keep that stuff coming, by the way, 086 60 25,000. As someone who works as a poll clerk, voting card's very important as it has your number, especially in an area where first names and usernames are the same. I don't know if I've misspoke at the start of this programme or if I've been misunderstood. The only time we're talking about not having your voting card is not if you leave it at home or you don't need to use it. It's if it's lost or didn't get to your postal address. Obviously, if you got a voting card, take that with you because it's busy enough. But I've had a couple of texts suggesting that maybe I was implying you don't need your voting card. You have to take your voting card with you. If you have it, please do. What the question has been, the one I'm trying to answer is that what happens if you don't have it or you lost it? Can you still vote? But maybe actually it sounded like I was saying you don't need it. So I appreciate the clarification and more than happy to clarify. So the awful news we heard of yesterday and reading about in the papers this morning was a young woman, just 23 years of age, who tragically died following a dog attack in County Limerick. She was found inside the gate of her residence and she was retreated at the scene but pronounced dead. 4 dogs from a restricted breed were seized. One of them was put down by Gardaí. It's supposedly an XL bully. So obviously we're not going to talk about that specific case. But unfortunately, with 400 odd dog attacks plus in Ireland every year, there's never a time where some might not think it's a little insensitive. So we're speaking about dogs, dangerous dogs more generally, but not referencing that awful tragic case. Dr. Gerard Rorty is a vet. He's with us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What is your view? I mean, just to be clear, by the way, ex-bully, it's often referred to as a breed, but it's not really a breed of dog. It's a type of dog. It's such a mishmash of different breeds. Would you call it a breed or would you call it a type of dog?
No, it's a type of dog. You're right. It's a type of dog. It's a type of dog that nobody wants because its musculature is such, and particularly its facial muscles and procedures are such that if that dog bites, it will kill, and it also has a tendency when it bites, it does not let go. It's like a zebra in the equine field. A donkey bites you, it lets go. A horse bites you, it lets go. Other dogs that might bite you, let go. It doesn't bite. So no, it's a type of dog. It's a type of dog that should be banned in Ireland, but unfortunately we don't ban dogs.
But in terms of banning it, because it's a type and not a breed, that would be very difficult to enforce, surely.
It would be, but other countries can enforce it. We have sidestepped the issue. We just try and restrict dogs and dangerous dogs, and that's not working. And as you quite rightly said earlier on, the incidence of dog bites and the incidence of dog fatalities in particular has really taken off over the last few years. Now, internationally, countries are moving to ban dangerous dogs. So north of the border, they're banning dogs altogether that are dangerous. Britain does the same, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong. There's loads of countries that have moved to that. We have done the Irish classical political situation when we run into a problem. We set up a task force so that they'll report in a few years' time when it's all forgotten about. But the deficit we have is, although we have got restricted dog breeds, we don't actually ban dogs. But going back to your point, it wouldn't be that difficult to enforce because at the end of the day, you're going to get evidence from a vet that this dog is a particular type,
right?
And it shouldn't be allowed.
I mean, is there an argument too? Is there an argument too that really because these dogs are so interbred that they're pretty unhealthy dogs? You know, some could actually call them deformed. Is there not an argument that actually really, from an animal cruelty perspective, that banning them actually might be favourable because we are creating this mishmash of breeds and genes and what have you?
Well, you're correct, but if you were to extend that argument, there's loads of other lovely little breeds of dogs that genetically are totally interbred. But going back to my point on the differentiation between banning and restricting, I think that's the first thing that we need to do. Is we need to wake up and start banning dogs. I mean, we restrict 11 breeds of dogs in Ireland. What we need to do is actually start banning them. Now, Dublin County Council have moved, and since 2007, tenants of Dublin County Council aren't allowed to keep particular types of dogs and breeds of dogs, and we have to move towards that. The other thing you have to bear in mind is that there's a big association between a lot of these dangerous dogs and these aggressive dogs and criminality and drugs. I mean, as you know, I'm a big dog lover, and there's loads of fantastic breeds of dogs that you can keep. I mean, I'm particularly fond of collies and Labradors and golden retrievers. But, you know, there's a direct correlation, and there's various studies in England that have shown, Middlesex University did a very good study recently, showing the correlation between drug pushers, criminality, and a lot of these dangerous dogs.
Yeah, and I mean, I just don't think it's something we can. I mean, we don't need to be doing a knee-jerk reaction. We know what's going on. We can look internationally as to what's going on, and we can do what's right. And just by banning something, I mean, there'll always be people that try and skirt bans, but over time, it does create a different type of a dog keeping pattern.
Well, you have to bear in mind 99.999% of responsible dog owners keep dogs as pets that are useful for them. Unfortunately, there's a very small percentage that are keeping these really aggressive dogs and breeding them, as you mentioned, crossbreeding to try and achieve, as you say, a deformed type of dog with particularly pronounced musculature around its shoulders and around its jaws. And incredibly dangerous dogs. And this has really taken off in the last few years. If you look at the statistics in terms of both dog fatalities and dog bites in Britain, where they've published a lot of research, it has really taken off in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And as I said, we have been pretty laid back. Now, I use the analogy and the contrast in terms of taking matches off children. You know, rather than, in terms of enforcement, rather than getting ourselves really good firefighters, let's just take the matches away. So going back to the dogs, if we ban those dogs and we enforce it, and those dogs are not around to be bred from, and then we don't allow them to be imported, then we just don't have those dogs.
Also, I mean, like, there are certain dogs that if they went for you, they could cause you a nasty injury. And I'm not saying it couldn't be fatal in certain circumstances, but these dogs, they're a lockjaw, they don't let go, they are vicious, they're incredibly strong. If they decide to attack, you have a far less likely chance of getting away with it unscathed.
You're totally right. We've all had experiences where, you know, somebody can get a nip for a dog and the dog cowers and runs away. These types of dog are totally different. They're so aggressive, they're killers. And they will continue to bite and maul and chew somebody literally until they've killed them. I mean, you're not talking in a situation about, you know, as you occasionally have the domestic dog that gives somebody a wee bit of a bite. You're talking about a dog that will launch itself at you, it'll attack, it'll hold, it'll grip, and it's that strong, it will fight you till it kills you.
Yep. Okay, listen, thanks, Jared, for that. I mean, you're a vet, so it's good to get your insight. Whilst we are on with you, I've spoken to you a number of times previously about a vet school. I think we spoke to Simon Harris when he was the Minister for Higher Education earlier this year. He seemed to be very favourable towards a vet school being established in Letterkenny. I did have an opportunity to speak to him recently, but time escaped me. I didn't get to put this question to him again. I can guess his answer, yes, still very much in favour of it, working and all that kind of stuff. What is the situation, as you know? I know you've been a big advocate for this. You say it'd be good for the economy. And it should be really a no-brainer. What's the hold-up? Why aren't we seeing delivery?
Well, where we are, the inside track on where we are is that Simon Harris did, as Minister for Higher Education, approved Limerick, Waterford and ATU, the Letterkenny bid, has been feasible for a vet school, and we all expected those to get funding and further funding for the UCD vet school. Since then, there has been a fantastic political lobby and veterinary lobby, basically led by the Chambers of Commerce in Limerick and in Waterford, by industry in Limerick and Waterford, and by the vets in Limerick and Waterford, to ensure that Limerick and Waterford gets the vet school. So where we're sitting today, we're looking at an announcement fairly shortly that UCD is going to get more places. Limerick will get a vet school, Waterford will get a vet school, and we will have 3 vet schools on or south of the Limerick Dublin line,
So
which will be an absolute travesty.
we've dropped the ball here by the sounds of things, Jared.
Well, ATU did a fantastic job. ATU have, listen, the ATU application is brilliant, but they're academics, and it's not their role in life to go lobbying Simon Harris. Yeah, we did locally drop it. I think we just didn't realise how much it means for the economy. And the classic example is the SRUC showed that having a vet school in their area generates around 20 million for the economy in direct, indirect, and induced benefits. It brings industry, it brings research, it brings pharmaceuticals, a massive benefit for agriculture. But the one thing that we have to bear in mind, the one incredible asset is we've had the best Minister for Agriculture since Neil T. Blaney, and Charlie McConalogue will have to sign off on where these vet schools go. So I'm hoping and praying that Charlie will ensure that rather than Waterford, a vet school goes to Letterkenny. So it looks like Limerick's going to get the vet school. I kind of hear this from talking to a lot of the lobbying groups. The classic example is there are 54 vets lobbying on the Limerick lobbying group, and they've been up and they've met the Joint Oireachtas Committee. They did the presentation. Waterford is something similar, Chambers of Commerce, different industry, different groups. I'm not actually aware of anybody in Donegal lobbying for this vet school, and I suppose it's just we don't realise the incredible benefit it would have to agriculture.
So what do you think we need to be doing now, Jared? What do you think we need to be doing now? Are we out of this cycle in your view?
No, we're not. Where we are now is the man who has really delivered for Donegal in terms of agriculture so far is Charlie McConalogue. This decision cannot be made without collective cabinet responsibility, and we need to be knocking on Charlie's door and shouting at Charlie, saying, look, Charlie, do not allow 3 vet schools to be in 1/3 of the island of Ireland. I mean, there's a massive argument in terms of the co-location. Effectively, we're that close to Derry, we're almost to one area. Having a co-location of the vet school of the medical faculty in Derry and having the vet school in Letterkenny, they'll have a symbiotic, synergistic relationship. As I say, it'll be incredible for the economy. So no, it's not too late, because in the same way, the only reason that we have ATU in Letterkenny is because Neil T. Blaney hammered at Donaghomally so that originally there was no regional college coming to Letterkenny to ensure that a regional college did come there to correct the geographical imbalance. So Charlie can still deliver for us. So it's about the people of Donegal actually contacting Charlie and saying to him, look, Charlie, we need a vet school up here.
Okay. Now, before I let you go, a caller says, no dog is born aggressive. It's the way they are raised. It's on the owners. It's not right to be putting out that message. Now, I am not a vet. I want to hear from you. But listen, if you interbreed and it has a physical impact on a dog, I could not swallow that it's not going to have a personality impact on a dog. And I would be of the view that some dogs, especially the way they're bred, might be more predisposed to be aggressive than another.
Well, your caller is totally right. I mean, in terms of good management of dogs, you can control dogs, you can train them well, you can try and manage them. The big difficulty about these dogs is if one of these dogs get out of control, they will kill you. You know, that is a massive, massive difference. Yeah, you're going to have aggressive collies, you're going to have aggressive golden Labradors, you're going to have aggressive dachshunds or chihuahuas, but they are not trained killers. The big, big difference with these dogs is these dogs are trained killers, and you have to ask yourself, why does somebody want to keep a trained killer? And then you look at the correlation, as I said, between, you know, drug gangs and criminal gangs keeping those trained killers of dogs. So you have to ask, like, what's the point in keeping them?
Okay, Dr. Jared Rorty, thank you very much indeed. And of course, that's in no reference to any current stories that are ongoing, and it's not uniquely the case, but that's Dr. Jared's opinion there. Another caller says, I have a chihuahua, and they say, I'll admit it's a menace. Sounds like a handling. He plays, but would be nippy. If he was the size of an XL bully, I beg your pardon, he would not be safe at all, says another listener. Continues that listener. Car insurance up by 330 since last year. I have a clean slate all round. Please tell me you've shopped around. It's really, really important you shop around. I got a high quote, shopped around, moved, love moving. I've switched broadband 3 times in the last 4 years. Gone to the cheapest mobile phone operator, bought my handset outright. every little bit helps towards going to meet the other daily bills. House insurance every year, shop around. And it's so easy to switch now. Electricity, shop around. Everything happens when there's election funding, and having roads tarred, that's not really needed, says a listener. I went to my local pub, and there's no ban on vaping happening indoors. It's horrible to have to inhale stuff when I don't know what it is. It should be enforced. Total nightmare, says a listener there. Madness listening to your station, and the news mentions people are worried that being in the 60s will be the most costly age for them, with retirement and still having a mortgage to pay and having adult children in their home. And then someone texts in saying they don't plan on voting, which effectively endorses this problem. We get the government we deserve. Like, I agree with you. Like, I don't think not voting is a protest. I think not voting is is either a vote for more of the same or a vote for change that you don't want. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not talking about any political party or grouping or what have you. We have and we're all very busy, right? But we tend to have a really low turnout for the local elections, and you get the council that you vote for. And you could have a really different council. You know, you really, really could. And I'm not saying a different council is a good thing, because, you know, experience is a good thing too. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, in terms of the representation of the population of this county, it could be really, really different. But it's not going to happen if people don't vote. But also what might happen is that, you know, if you don't vote, there's going to be a lot of people registered to vote, right? And they're going to be motivated to vote, because you don't register unless you're going to vote. So you could see these elections, and it'll be part of our analysis and conversation, like you could see these elections throw up an interesting set of results. So those that have been on the register for a long time, apathetic, don't bother voting, and then you have a very motivated group of people that might vote. And I don't know what that might do to the council. I don't even think it's a bad thing. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. I think the best thing is that you get the council that you vote for, you get the person, the individual that you vote for, and the best thing you can actually do is vote. And then if it doesn't go your way, if you don't like things are going, then you've got a real mandate to say this. It's a load of you know what.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 to Noon Show with Drumhallah House Rathmullen wedding open day this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. with complete wedding setup, including champagne reception, live music and an opportunity to meet the team to discuss your special day.
The National Women's Council is calling on all women and voters to get out and vote this Friday in the European elections. Your vote can influence issues that affect your daily life, such as progress on gender equality, workers' rights, the economy, climate change, tackling violence against women, and many more. This Friday, 7th of June, make sure your vote counts in the European elections, an initiative by the National Women's Council. This advertisement was funded by the Communicating Europe initiative.
New VAT refund list from Revenue revealed. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out what farm equipment has been ruled in and out as Revenue updates its list of eligible VAT items. See who received the highest cap payment in your county. Beef prices heat up ahead of summer. Why 1 in 5 farmers say they would re-wet their farms. We reveal what farmers with no successors plan to do with their land. Plus, top tips for animal health this summer.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
From fresh strawberries to fresh tomatoes, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best of local. And having worked hard to make a number of new refurbishments, now your nearby store will look just as fresh. Visit our new look Tesco Letterkenny today and see for yourself. Tesco. Every little helps.
Imagine a dream wedding on a lake, all-day casual dining by a magical shore, fine dining or glorious afternoon tea surrounded by beautiful mountains, or a fabulous bar filled with music, laughter and song. Imagine no more. Harvey's Point, Loch Esk, Donegal, 07497222208 or harveyspoint.com. Close by, but a different world.
It's your fault. You deserve it. It's all in your head. They don't mean it. They can change. Recognizing male domestic abuse can be hard. Seeking support can be harder. For confidential advice and support, free phone the National Male Advice Line on 1-800-816-588. MAL, more than just a helpline.
So do you remember towards the end of last year, there was an awful lot of talk of facial recognition technology being made available to the Gardaí the Irish government published a draft bill towards the end of last year. This was a month after a group of people rioted in Dublin city centre. Opponents of the technology say it can lead to the tech being misused by Gardaí, with concerns around an increased level of surveillance and false arrests. And one person I'm going to speak to now knows all about this. His name is Robert Williams, and he joins me now. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for your time. Right, so, we're having this conversation now. We're talking about its introduction. Already well established in the US. Is that where you were misidentified, Robert?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you tell us your experience then?
Well, I was. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening, and I got a phone call from my wife saying that the police contacted her and told her that I need to turn myself in, and they couldn't tell her why. She just needed to know that it was serious, and she gave them my phone number to call me. And I said, well, if they were looking for me, how come they didn't already have my number? So then they called me and said the same thing. You need to turn yourself in. So I asked them for what reason, and they said, oh, we can't tell you that. You just need to know it's serious. And I said, well, if you can't tell me why, I'm gonna go home. And they said, okay, well, we'll meet you at your house. And I was like, okay. So we assumed it was a prank call because I had no reason to be arrested.
And you eventually were arrested, which, of course, is it's difficult enough for you, but this was done in front of your wife and children as well. I'm not sure if you have neighbours or who was watching on, but, not a very nice experience to say the least.
Yeah, in front of my whole community, really. It was, it was 5:30 in the evening, right? So it was, a lot. It was basically, it was traumatic to a point because you have to learn not to resist arrest when you have no reason to be arrested. And it was 2020, so it was really a bad time to resist arrest because,
of course,
a lot of people were
you want to. You want to stand up for your rights, okay, and protest your innocence, but also you are acutely aware what can happen if you do.
Right, and that was part of it. So I told my daughter, they're just making a mistake. Maybe I'll be right back. And I wasn't right back. And so that was another experience that I had to go through.
30 hours you were in custody for. Was this whilst they did further investigation? Were you interviewed doing this? It must have been very strange to be. Go ahead. Sorry, Robert.
No, go ahead. I wanted you to finish your question. It wasn't that they figured it out. I was fully charged with a crime. Wow. I had to go to court. I had to sit in the jail holding with the other people who were charged with crimes and basically wait my turn. At one point, I did actually see an investigator, but he told me he wasn't the investigator on my case. He was investigating another crime, and it was basically involving the same person, but it wasn't me.
This is really dangerous, isn't it? How did you manage then to exonerate yourself, to prove your innocence?
It wasn't really even me, because, like I said, like now it's more prevalent. A lot of people know about it, but I had no idea what facial recognition was. If I wouldn't have had a slip in the case, because the guy who interviewed me had 3 pictures, and then his 3 pictures, he turned them over to show me, really to ask me, was I the guy on the picture? And I told him no, I was not. And he told me, he's like, yes, you are. And I'm like, I picked the pictures up and hold them to my face, and I tell him, no, I'm not. And then he turns over the 3rd picture and says, then I guess the computer got it wrong. And when I told my wife that story, she said that doesn't make sense. And she reached out to the ACLU, which in Canada, I guess, not Canada, but in Ireland, it's the ICCL. So if I wouldn't have got in touch with them, they pretty much put the pieces together for me and was like, I think they used this facial recognition technology.
What worries me about it, Robert, is the amount of weight was put into this technology. Do you know what I mean? It was almost, it seems, by investigators, case closed. It's flagged Robert Williams. Robert Williams must have done the crime. We'll book him. We'll get him in front of a judge. And things could have turned out very differently. You could have spent 6 months in lockup for all we know, because an awful lot of weight was given to this clearly flawed technology.
That's that happened in 2020. So I'm still fighting it now. Right, the case is not closed or settled yet, but we I used to say that in the beginning. I used to say it could have been different because it was still a felony case because it was felony larceny, like you were talking about earlier about the rioting, but it could have been worse because if it would have been charged with murder or carjacking or something like that, then I wouldn't have been able to be free on bond because they won't let you bond out for those type of offenses.
And do you know what else that could lead to, Robert? Exactly. But do you know what often happens, Robert? And you'd know better than I, being from the United States. Like, you could find yourself in a hole where you end up pleading out to it. Do you know what I mean? Because you might have a distrust of the police, you might have a distrust of the court system. You're facing life imprisonment on a murder charge. You weren't there. You can't prove it's not you. So what do? You plea out to 6 or 7 years on a manslaughter or something. I mean, I'm sure it's happened. That's what's the worrying thing is.
There's a guy from New Jersey named Niger Parks who had a previous case, and he got picked up on facial recognition, and he was on parole, and he was contemplating taking a plea deal to get it over with so he wouldn't get charged fully for being a convicted criminal already, right? Another guy from my city, Michael Oliver, he got charged, and the crazy part is by the same detective that had me arrested for stealing somebody's iPhone or breaking somebody's iPhone or something like that. And he had a previous case, and he ended up going back to prison for 2 weeks because he was on parole.
Oh, wow. Okay. So instantly in prison because it was, again, the weight was put into this technology and that violated his parole. And also, too, it's very important to point out that studies have shown that facial recognition often misidentifies Asian and black people far more so than it might a white person. So that is
And
something
women.
and women, yeah.
Yeah. So Asian people, any brown skinned people, and women are false identified. I think it's like 8-1 more times than just white male faces. So it's flawed technology. The thing is, like you were saying, once they buy it though, they intend on using it because it costs so much to buy.
Yeah.
And I try to liken it to if you bought a really expensive mixer for your kitchen. Even if you don't need to use the mixer, you could use a bowl. You bought that mixer, so you're going to use the mixer. And I think in Ireland, y'all in a spot where y'all didn't buy the technology yet. So you can have the discussion of reasons why not to buy it and figure out a better way to just do policing. Because I understand that people lean on technology because they think it makes things simpler. But at what point do you stop? Like, I had a conversation with a guy yesterday who said, well, what if it works 100%? And I said, if it works for 100% and it has 100% accuracy, would you never upgrade it?
Yeah, of course, but also too, what happens is it's the path of least resistance, isn't it? If I can get you for on facial recognition, I might not have to go and get mobile phone records. I might not have to go and canvass a CCTV. I might not have to investigate witnesses. I might not have to check all your alibis. You know, I can get you slammed to rights if I believe in this technology, and I can clear the case. You know what I mean?
And
That's the problem, isn't it?
Exactly correct. Because they don't. I keep saying they. I've been told to stop. So policing won't do any further investigation because they'll lean on the technology to be correct, because people believe that computers don't have bias and computers don't make mistakes. So even in America, these forms that they created, they leave them in a gray area, and they say, and it says this is to be used as an investigative lead, not as a means to arrest. But we can see that some police don't follow that part of protocol, and they say, okay, the computer got them already. I'm just going to go pick them up, because I didn't even get to. They never asked me any questions. They asked me what's my name, and then they told me I was under arrest, and that was the end of it. And I'm like, that's impossible to just come to my home and say, "Are you Robert Williams?" And I'm like, yes. And they're like, you're under arrest. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. All right, Robert, listen, it's food for thought. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate the Irish Council for Civil Liberties facilitating it. Take care of yourself. Thanks for your time. I hope everything's sorted out for you. All right, that is Robert Williams, misidentified as a thief in America based on faulty technology. He, amongst others, are calling on the Justice Minister to scrap plans for facial recognition technology. If you happen to be Asian or black or a woman, you are far more likely to be misidentified, which you can understand why, perhaps. You can't understand why, perhaps. So if that is the case, why would it be introduced here? Ireland does have a chance to avoid it. I don't know what the right thing to do is there. Is it useful if it's used as a tool but not actually given so much weight? I don't know. What do you think? A caller believes it's lazy police work. Another says, my fear is that Gardaí is so under pressure here that it would become a reliance. And I think that's what's happened, certainly in Robert's case. Another caller says there are things that should not be left to technology. This is one of them. Exactly. And those arresting officers in Robert's case, they obviously had absolute faith in the technology, which is probably not advisable.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Dreaming of an exclusive country house wedding with stunning views? Then pay a visit to the Wedding Open Day at Drumhallah House Rathmullen this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. Drumhallah House, sponsors of today's show.
In 30 seconds, we want to let you know that the 242 Opel Open Road event is now on. We're going to use half of the time to suggest you explore Opel's extensive award-winning range. Half of the time to tell you you'll get 3 years free servicing. Then, we've nothing else to talk about. In fact, the percentage of our time we're going to talk about finance offers, that would be 0%. Find out more about our 242 offers at Manor Motors Opel. See manormotors.ie for details.
A mixture of sunny spells, scattered showers, temperatures between 5 and 25 degrees, mild to gale force wind. Hail? It's anyone's guess. Whatever the weather, Centra has you covered. Lions tea bags 80 pack only €2. Select Dr. Ucca Ristorante pizzas only €2. And Pata Negra Sauvignon Verdejo only €9. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Summer entertainment in the Great Northern Hotel Bundoran. Friday, July the 5th, the one and only Nathan Carter and his band, with special guest David James. Hear all your favourite Nathan Carter hits and more. Tickets $36.50 plus booking fee. On sale now from the hotel reception and Ticketmaster.ie. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Letterkenny Medics is Ireland's first multi-purpose private medical urgent care and aesthetics centre. Dr. Mohammed El Preya and Dr. Ripu Singh are offering daily appointments from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days per week. Our walk-in clinics offer cardiac screening, weight management, male and female health screening, minor injury, minor surgery, aesthetics and travel vaccinations. To book your appointment, go to letterkennymedics.ie or call 07492 02955. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
Foy & Company's collection of homeware and home furnishings are of the highest quality and with a huge selection to choose from. We have something to suit every taste and budget. Choose from our stunning and unique collections of rugs, cushions and home accessories. Also wall art, mirrors, lamps and fabrics. If you're looking to transform your home or commercial space, our team of interior designers and stylists will help you choose the perfect pieces. Visit us today at Foy & Company in Ballybuffet or Letterkenny.
Right, an investigation is to take place in Bridgend today, Inland Fisheries Ireland, to investigate an apparent fish kill in a local stream. Milton Matthews is River Basin Director with Inland Fisheries Ireland. Thanks for making yourself available this morning, Milton. I do appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so it's very early days, I would imagine, from an investigative perspective. What do we know?
In summary, there was a fish kill report came in yesterday evening to ourselves and Donegal County Council Environmental Section as regards a suspected fish kill upstream of Bridgend, which would be part of the Skeg River that flows into Inch Lake and then ultimately into Lough Swilly, so in the northern part of the county. So there's an investigation, as I say. We're still at early stages with it, but our fisheries officers, staff, environmental officers are out on site this morning now, just following up in terms of the investigation, and can confirm that there has been a localised fish kill there in relation to juvenile salmon, eels, etc. in the Skeg River. So that investigation is ongoing at the moment.
It's really regrettable, isn't it, Milton, because this is part of a long process for salmon. Obviously, not obviously, it's a question, sorry. Investigations will continue to find the cause of this. Are there any early indications, Milton? Or any, literal indications?
Yes. Well, what I can say at the moment is we're following a different line of inquiry. We do believe we may have identified the source at the moment. Now, obviously, that will require water samples being taken, and those water samples will have to get analysed and results confirmed before we can confirm the source.
So just in relation to that, and I do know you have to be really careful, and I wouldn't ask you a question that puts you in a difficult position, but is this, do you get the sense that this is something that was accidentally went into the river from a building or a farm or something like that there, or was put into the river from a tanker or something? I mean, can you give me any information in that regard?
Okay, well, what I can say at the moment, the affected area seems to be about 1 kilometre long, and I say, well, there's still investigation ongoing. It seems to be of the order of about 100 or so fish, and that would be juvenile salmon, trout, eels and elvers, and some stickleback. So I say it's a reasonable stretch of river in terms of about 1 kilometre or so of affected area, and there was some evidence of water colour. So we do believe it's a point source solution, is all I can say. For obvious reasons, I just can't be any more clear than that at the minute. That we believe that we have identified the source, and I say the investigation is ongoing at the moment. And I say I'd like to just acknowledge the work of the environmental section in Donegal County Council as well, who were on site yesterday evening as well, and we're liaising closely with them in terms of samples taken and samples to be analysed. So I don't have evidence yet to suggest if it's deliberate or accidental, but we do believe as though there's a suspected source has been identified, but that will only be confirmed once we have water analysis confirmed. And then we can take the investigation to the next stage.
Yeah, okay.
But that's the available information we have at the moment.
And I fully respect that. I didn't want to push you too far, Milton. I do understand it's very early days in an ongoing investigation. But thank you very much for your time this morning.
Okay, no, great. And just say to people, if there is any suspected pollution case or whatever it is, just to be aware of the Inland Fisheries Ireland hotline, which is 0818 347424. And that's a 24-hour contact service. So just if people do have reports in, it's critically important that they make calls good and early, and that means that we can get staff out on the ground because it's all about an early response to that. So we'd just like to thank everybody in that regard, and just to refer people to the Inland Fisheries Ireland website and the hotline service that's there.
Okay.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Milton. Milton Matthews, River Basin Director. I wanted to reference something that I saw posted on social media, and quite understandably, it's quite a long post given the history, and I can't read it all. But it's a closing down sale relating to the Ballybofane Stranraer Supporters Club. It's been there for over a quarter of a century, but it's been asked to close down, apparently by directors of the Finn Harps Football Club. And it reads as follows. We received correspondence from the chair and board of directors of Finn Harps Football Club requesting we close the Ballybofane Stranraer Supporters Club shop. The club wished to conduct all sales online from here on. After 25 plus years, it would be a total understatement to say I'm totally heartbroken. The mega store, or the big blue shop operated by Kieran and myself, has been far more than just a merchandise shop over the years. We had the pleasure and honour to sell gear to young and old, both home and away supporters. I've had young boys and girls coming into the shop who went on to play for our beloved Harps. Some of them scored goals, saved goals, defended and played in midfield. We had children come in with money and some with very little money, but we always had something for everyone. We will definitely miss all the chats, banter and hugs from the young fans. I'm totally thankful for all our loyal supporters who over the years have never let me down, be it either with 5Ks, local and international appeals, such as the food bank in Letterkenny, the footwear appeal for Africa, and the huge support for the Ukrainian appeal, which especially showed what an important part of our community we are. So it goes on then to talk more personally and says that over the past 25 years, the Harp Shop has been in operation. We've given the club in excess of €100,000 and have also provided payment directly to companies and individuals. The Harp Shop will open for one last day, Friday the 7th of June. You're very welcome, and maybe you'll pick up a bargain. The club has an online shop with merchandise available. So it's the end of an era. I'm not really sure of the ins and outs of that. It's been very respectfully worded by Anne. But obviously, it's a huge loss to them. It's 25 years is a long time to be doing anything. An awful lot of people have travelled passed through that shop over the years. But they've been asked, it seems, according to them, and we're open to correction, and we have made inquiries, that they've been requested to close because Harps want to sell stuff online. So it's open for one last time on Friday the 7th of June. As I say, maybe there's more to that. If you have a view on that, please let us know. 08660 25,000.
Drumhala House Rathmullen Wedding Open Day this Sunday 12 to 4 p.m. Experience once in a lifetime luxury and beautiful surroundings at Drumhala House, proud sponsors of today's show.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
We move Ireland's energy through one of Europe's most modern gas networks, delivering the energy you need today throughout the country. And now we're moving Ireland's energy in a new way, bringing more sustainable sources into the pipeline. Gas Networks Ireland, moving Ireland's energy.
It's the Kerrykill Vintage Rally this Saturday, 8th of June. Enjoy stationary engines, cars and tractors, crafts, live music, children's amusements, a petting zoo with alpacas and a juggling duo. That's the Kerrykill Vintage Rally at the church grounds this Saturday from 12 noon. This ad is sponsored by Wurski's Eurospar and Ice Cream Parlour Romelton.
These days, we're all looking for healthy, tasty family meals and lots of variety. The good news is that our fishermen continue to bring us the best of the catch, like fresh Irish hake and haddock. There are so many ways to enjoy them. Try delicious Thai curry with hake or mouth-watering Cajun seasoned haddock. For lots of tasty recipes and different meal ideas, visit boardbeer.ie and look out for Irish hake and haddock next time you're shopping. Fresh ideas, great meals.
Hello folks, this is Robert Mazzell. I'm looking forward to coming to the St. Bestius Church in Cleator on the Sunday, the 9th of June. Myself and my 6-piece band will be there. We'll be playing some gospel music for you, some country music. We're going to be having some fun, a little bit of inspiration, and lots of great music. Come and see us. That is the 9th of June in the St. Bestius Church in Cleator.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybofane.
All right, let's see what the weather has in store for us. A mix of cloud and sunny spells, along with scattered showers, temperatures 12 to 14 degrees and a light to moderate westerly breeze. The caller says, I love dogs, and I had a dog who was a staffie. I had her for 3 years and I loved her. One day she decided to attack me out of the blue. I still don't know how I got away. This lasted 30 minutes. I had to make the decision to put her down. She was well cared for. She got out for 3 to 4 mile runs every day and slept in my bed. She was my baby. I was badly cut. I'm still not over it. It was so scary. What a horrible experience for you. And it seems to be a prolonged attack. But also, too, obviously, an animal, a dog that you were very fond of as well. So a lot of potential for upset there on many different levels. Greg, I'm not a fan of the AI searches. Seen a video of someone who was looking to see if their bottle of cleaner, Sif, I think it was recalled. When they looked it up, the AI-generated response was totally wrong and it pulled a date of when the product had went on sale previously. Yep, if you're using ChatGPT and what have you, it's currently a somewhat flawed system. I think that's too controversial to say. They're still working on it. A caller says, I think your children are possibly getting confused between children who are born bad and dogs who are just dogs. They are not children. You can't say a dog is not born bad because it is simply a dog and unpredictable and was adapted for domestic use from the wild. I heard a dog warden too, who was 30 years in the business, and he'd been called out to many scenes of dog attacks in the home and what have you. And he said that many of them were at social gatherings in the house, and the dog and the owner, obviously very familiar, the dog would never attack the owner. But when the owner had had a couple of drinks, he said he'd seen it on so many occasions that he noted it as a trend that the dog would attack the owner because the dog must have perceived the owner as different, or whatever markers a dog watches out for in its owners were blurred because the person was intoxicated, maybe not speaking the same, or, you know, a bit slurred or behaving differently. And he said that more than he would have liked to, he had seen dogs attack their owners when the owner was under the influence of alcohol. Regarding dogs, a big problem with dogs is that the wrong people are in control of them and don't know how to handle them. There should be legislation on who can own dogs. Read the ED in Letterkenny. An incident last night where a patient left after 10 hours and their family had driven them to Dublin. It's not acceptable. I fear somebody's going to die as a result. Well, the problem is there are statistics. Now, we don't know what causes it, but there are statistics, and they're not statistics, they're people, of the amount of people that have died in the ED at Letterkenny University Hospital between being admitted to the hospital and actually getting a bed. And it's a lot of people. Proportionately, I don't know, maybe someone might argue that it's not. And people are obviously going to hospital because they're sick and this might happen. But it's not like I fear somebody's going to die as a result. Unfortunately, we know that whether it's for a result or not, we have the actual amount of people that have died in EDs around the country whilst waiting to be put into a bed. This dog must be banned. This is the XL Bully. Animals can turn in a second and they cannot be released. They won't release, I think, is what they're saying there. Hi there. There are 3 cows on the loose on the green in Solomon's Court. Could you announce it so someone can collect them, please? That come in a couple of times. Are the cows still out there on Solomon's Court? Let us know. I can reiterate that if they're still there, if you know what I mean. Hi, Greg. Why is Ireland an outlier in allowing refugees to vote in local elections? It's not really an outlier. There are other countries. Wales and Scotland are very close to us. I think they allow refugees to vote. No other European country permits this. This is blatant election interference by foreigners in Irish elections, which, I mean, I respect your point of view. But, I mean, at what point are you not a foreigner? You know, if you come here, you're seeking refuge or you're living here, you know, when do you become entitled to vote? Maybe you say when you're a citizen. Candidates should make sure they don't have posters within the vicinity or 50 metres of the building. We want things to run smoothly in everyone's interest. That's coming in from a voting clerk. I won't be voting in the local election, says a listener, because not one councillor acted when a local builder blocked off a right-of-way on the in our area that was used for over 100 years. I just can't mention the specific area until I verify it. I'm familiar with the story. But just because it's a local builder, local area, it could identify an individual, and we're governed by rules here on air that could make that problematic for us. Okay. Let me see. Hi, Greg. Maybe with the election coming up, you could find out what's happening with the building that used to be Chirnanog Bar. Building work had commenced around 3 years ago, but it's at a standstill for the last 2 years. It's an eyesore at the entrance to the estate, and with antisocial behaviour occurring in the Ballymacool Park, it's only a matter of time before something happens. There also, residents try and keep the estate clean and tidy and welcoming. This is an unsightly scene when coming into the estate. Okay, and that's that mentioned. Any word of help for adult disabled people in Donegal struggling at home? I just don't want to read that and leave that hanging there. Leave that with me. We might make some inquiries, or if maybe you could get back in touch with us and give us more specifics, we might be able to point you in the right direction. I just don't want that call to end at that short text there. If someone is in need of assistance or something being highlighted, I would like to help if I can. A caller says, I've reported the same river in Bridgend for an oil spill and other things 3 times in the past year. It is not surprising that there was a fish kill. Yeah, indeed. And it seems to be quite extensive too. I think particularly young salmon. We are having less and less salmon returning, spawning and heading off about their business now. And you wonder, does this break the chain? You do actually wonder how they find their way back. But if you're killing off a generation of them, does that have a bigger impact on that river for longer? I think dogs that only get socialised with humans and not proper packs of dogs don't get to experience their natural behaviours. Yeah, indeed. There's something inherent in us all. And I'm sure dogs are the same. And finally, hi Greg, can you talk about Temu? I find their stuff great, but now you have to pay over €20 or your stuff is not flying, etc. to your country. I ordered for the first time stuff off Temu. We'll definitely look at that. It came in about 8 days. There was no extra prices, but certainly we can look into it. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Back with you tomorrow. John Breslin's up next around the Northwest.
Highland Radio will this weekend provide unrivaled coverage of the local and European elections on air and online. On Saturday, our team is live from the Oraletta Centre from 9 a.m. for the segregation of ballot papers. We'll be able to bring you the latest tallies and news from your area throughout the day, with an expert panel on air from 12 noon till 3. And on Sunday, it's wall-to-wall coverage live from all 5 count centres with the latest news as it happens. You will find out first who is in and who is out. For the first time, you'll be able to watch our coverage live from across the county on X, YouTube, Facebook and on highlandradio.com. So that's Highland Radio's local and European election coverage this weekend on air and across our website and